Saw him take the lead in the HTP Bentley while it all got a bit close behind. Enzo Eid on the grass, tapping into a spin Albert von Taxis. That was the view on board from Vincent Abril as he cruised through the middle. This was the rear view from the Ferrari as it all got a little bit busy into turn one. And Albert von Taxis, the man who started on pole, was sent to the back. There were also problems for the Zero BMW Team Brazil car. The battles were intense at the front of the order as the race leader, Vincent Abril, came into the pits to hand over to his teammate, Maximilian Buch. Good work from the HTP Bentley squad as the 333 Ferrari squad also came in to change their tyres and drivers, and out went the 77 BMW. Robin Freins was pushing hard, trying to make up positions, but he'd soon come into the pits to hand over to Laurens van Thor. They got involved in a first corner incident in the qualifying race, so had to start at the back for the main race and were working their way up the order. Caca Bueno recounted his story of the start of the race. The battle was on between the 333 Ferrari and the 77 BMW, all over second position. Norbert Siedler was pushing hard, trying to get past Valdeno Brito in front. Meanwhile, trying to catch them, Laurens van Thor spun. That dropped him down a position behind the 3 WRT Audi of Stefan Ortelli. But Vincent Abril watched on as his teammate Maximilian Buch came through the final corner. The first win for HTP with their new Bentleys. A superb performance from Buch and Abril, bringing them right into championship contention. And the first win in Blancpain Sprint for Vincent Abril. On the Thursday night, there was a parade down to the Portimao town centre. The trucks made their way down, unloaded the cars, and the fans were able to meet and greet the drivers. There was even a little bit of burnout action from the new JRM Nissan. At WRT, Christopher Mies and Enzo Eid are looking strong this weekend. Mies managed to put it on pole position in qualifying, and it will be hopefully a strong race weekend for them. Meanwhile, in the number 1 WRT car, they are leading the championship. Laurens van Thor and Robin Freins looking forward to the weekend.
Well, we're leading the championship by 15 points now, so a lot of stuff can happen. This circuit doesn't really suit our car, we reckon, so it's going to be a difficult weekend for us. If we can finish on the podium, should be great, and not to lose a lot of points against the Bentley, because I think the Bentley should be strong here. And if we go to Misano and Zandvoort, it's kind of more our tracks for the car.
At Phoenix Audi, once again, it'll be Marcus Winkelhock and Nicky Meyer-Melnhoff. In Moscow, Nicky Meyer-Melnhoff had to leave before the racing got underway, so Marcus had to do the whole races by himself. This weekend, they're convinced that they will be there or thereabouts come race day.
All season long, we've been fighting for the podium. I think that we showed that we have the pace. We just had a little tweaks here and there, which made it impossible for us to get to the podium. But if you look at the field, it's so close, so everything has to be spot on that we are on the podium. But for sure, otherwise we wouldn't be here if we wouldn't be thinking of winning, being able to win, or being on the podium.
At ISR Audi, the Fjordbach brothers aren't here this weekend, so it will be the sole entry for Philippe Salaquada and Marco Bononomi. The Audi team are getting stronger and stronger in their first season of Blancpain Sprint, and it's certainly a circuit that Marco Bononomi enjoys, having raced here in the past, and they'll be looking for a strong weekend.
I think the track, I really like it. I enjoyed it in Formula 3000 back in a few years ago. I think it fits quite well to our R8. And yeah, we did some simulation setup and things. I think we are pretty ready and for the big fight.
Caca Bueno and Sergio Jimenez have been unlucky so far this season in their Zero BMW, often getting caught up in incidents, none more so than at the start of the race in Moscow, where they were taken out in the start of both of the races. But in the sister number 77 car, things are looking good. They are third in the championship at the moment, Attila Abreu and Valdeno Brito at the wheel. They are well within reach of taking the championship lead if they have a good weekend here.
We should be on the pace, in the middle of the grid, but let's see how we can improve the car. We tested here in the beginning of the year. We improved a lot the car. I hope we can use this setup and this adjustment also here and have a good lap time during the weekend.
Over at HTP Bentley, the team were delighted to take their first victory in Moscow with the new Bentley Continental. In the 83 car with the new livery is Jules Simkowiak and Max van Splunteren, and they'll be hoping they can make their way further up the grid after van Splinteren's promising debut. But in the 84 Bentley, it's Vincent Abril and Maximilian Bout. They are just 15 points off the lead of the championship, and Abril knows that they could be in with a shot this weekend.
I think we will be probably a bit better than Moscow because there's less traction corners, which is a bit the difficulty with the car, to turn the car also in those very tight corners that we had in Moscow. So it won't be worse for sure, I hope.
A superb weekend for Reiter Engineering. Lamborghini in Moscow saw them win the qualifying race, but it's a very different circuit here, so Nicky Katzberg isn't quite as confident.
I think it will be a bit different than Moscow. Moscow was mainly first gear for us, so very low speed. This is a bit more in between. So yeah, let's see where we are, but I think we can be confident. I've been here a lot, spent a lot of time here in winters, and it's an amazing circuit. It's quite bumpy, but it has something special to it.
Craig Dolby and Sean Walkinshaw have made a switch from the MRS GT Nissan squad to the JRM Nissan squad. They'll be hoping it will result in some good performances this weekend. They've had a decent season so far, with a bit of bad luck at times, and hopefully for them, Portimao will turn their season around.
Yeah, I think it's been going pretty well. We've had some really, really good results. We've just had quite a bit of bad luck. We've lost out occasion on the pit stops and stuff like that, losing quite a few championship points and positions. But on the whole, I'm really, really happy. Both myself and Craig have been really happy with our times and performances so far. Hopefully we could just get maybe a podium or two by the end of the year.
It's been an up and down season for the 333 Rinaldi Ferrari squad. They had 2 podiums last time out in Moscow though, so they are genuine frontrunners coming to the Algarve. It's the first season for Rinaldi in the Blancpain Sprint Series, and for Norbert Siedler and Marco Seefried, there's been an awful lot to learn as they enter one of the most competitive GT championships.
Yeah, we have learned a lot actually, the drivers, mechanics, everybody learned a lot. Monza was already good at the beginning of the season, and everybody told us that the sprint will be very difficult for us, but actually we showed that we are really competitive there as well. Yeah, and let's hope to be again on the podium, and we want to fight for a victory, for sure.
The qualifying race for round 5 of the Blancpain Sprint Series is about to get underway here in the Algarve. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me in the commentary box is John Watson as we get ready for the 1-hour race that will set the grid for tomorrow's main race. It's overcast here, still pretty warm, 22.9 degrees Celsius, track temperature 26 degrees. As you can see, a bit of thunder and rain predicted for later on. Hopefully it won't hit us during the race here today. Mies and Abril then on row 1, Vanthor and Winkelhock row 2, then we've got Stefan Ortelli and Craig Dolby on the 3rd row of the grid, and then on row 4 we've got Marco Bononomi and Norbert Siedler. They will be in 7th and 8th positions respectively. Then we've got Sergio Jimenez, the first of the BMW Team Brazil cars. The BMW's not really liking this circuit here. We've got Frank Stippler and Marco Asma. Then on the next row of the grid, rounding it off with Valdeno Brito and Christophe Bouchou. The 88 Lamborghini will have to start from the pits if they can get going. The car's getting into formation, the windscreen wipers going just a little bit, maybe a few drops of rain here on the circuit in the Algarve ahead of the 1-hour sprint race that will decide the main race grid for the action tomorrow. In comes the safety car. When all the cars have crested this hill, the lights will go out and the round 5 of the Blancpain Sprint Series will be underway. Watch for the lights, everybody running at the same speed. Anytime now, we will go racing, and who's going to get the best start? It's immediately Vincent Abril moving to the right-hand side to try and cut off, and he's managed to do it. So another great start from Abril to move into the lead of the race. We're on board with the race leader. Christopher Mies trying to go around the outside, goes all 4 wheels off. Where is Mies in the Audi? He's back in front. That could be contentious. Vanthor in 3rd, Winkelhock 4th, and in 5th place we've got Stefan Ortelli. So pretty much as you were up at the front, but I imagine that move from Christopher Mies may be investigated, John.
Yeah, it may well be. It was a little bit of force majeure on the part of Christopher Mies. He got heavily squeezed coming down into turn 1. He then repaid the pleasure on the exit of turn 1. He had to go off track, but in doing so he gained position. Again, there must be spots of rain around the circuit. More cars, we see the wipers beginning to be used as they come up the hill into turn 7, and Well, that advantage, if we look at the second of the Bentley, dives down the inside of the BMW into turn 7, and hard to see whether he got that done.
Yes,
he did indeed.
That was Jules Simkowiak making a move on Valdeno Brito, who must have got him at the start as they crest the hill. Then we've got Craig Dolby up there. I think he's remained in 6th position, and Laurens van Thor very close to the back of Vincent Abril as they now drop down the hill up towards turn 13. A pit stop window between 25 and 35 minutes where they'll come in, change all 4 tyres, change drivers and head back out onto the circuit once more. So it's Christopher Mies who leads as we come round to complete the end of the first lap, and he's already managing to bridge a bit of a gap back to Vincent Abril behind.
Yeah, and some drivers just have favourite racetracks, and from memory, I think Christopher Mies was very, very quick here last year. Of all the Audi drivers, probably was the quickest. And again, this weekend, he seems to just dial into the racetrack with the Audi, where others have maybe struggled in those Audis. Christopher Mies, now look at the Bentley, look at the straight line advantage he thinks he's got, but he hasn't got any advantage when it gets into the braking.
Again, a little wipe of the windscreen. Oh, side by side here, and that's the Rinaldi Ferrari trying to force his way past Frank Stippler. And in fact, I think that's Stippler going past Seidler rather than the other way around. Yes, so that's 8th position now for Frank Stippler, and he started in 11th place in that number 4 WRT Audi. So that is good work from Stippler. But you can see, couldn't you? Oh, the Nissan slowing down. Craig Dolby, or is he on the attack actually, coming down towards the left-hander hairpin? We'll try and have it. No, he is slowing down.
He pulled over immediately to the left, so something has happened to the Nissan.
Car 2, which is Christopher Mies, our race leader, has been told he must respect track limits, and also that overtake is under investigation now by the stewards.
Back to this battle with the Ferrari and the number 4 Audi.
And it's Frank Stippler's. Oh, there's been a bit of a challenge there, I think, by Vincent Abril, but he's not quite close enough as they come out now onto the stretch, down towards the hairpin at turn 5. And Christopher Mies is having to go defensive on the run down towards the hairpin. And there's nothing at the moment that Vincent Abril can do, and he needs to have half an eye on what's going on behind him as well.
Exactly that. Who's lurking behind? The L-man, Laurens van Thor.
Championship leader.
We're going to see the start again. This is going to be the big squeeze at Vincent Abril. He went literally from left to right, reasonably aggressively, but of course everybody else behind, the Christopher Mies then was forced over to the right as well. But here, as Mies attempts to go around the outside, there is...
No, I mean, for me, Mies put himself there.
I think he should have backed out of that one, because he gained an advantage. He was quicker ultimately from the corner than the Bentley would have been.
And the Bentley is ahead here when you get on the brakes.
Legitimately ahead.
But Mies brakes much, much later to take more speed off towards Portimao.
That's the benefit of having replays. We get a clearer view
as they come now through the final corner, and we've just had confirmation on the screens that it's a drive-through penalty for car number 2, Christopher Mies, for overtaking while not respecting the track limits. There you can see the message from race control up at the top. And does it surprise you that WRT didn't say let him back through? That's quite clear.
That would have been my move. If I'd been in the pit wall, I would have said immediately let the Bentley take the lead. The issue is partly the fact that he gained an advantage, but it was an abuse of the track limits, and this is getting hammered home this weekend in a way I've not seen it happen for a number of seasons, and not before time.
And there's the move done for Nicky Katzberg. He's now up to 8th place, past Frank Stippler into turn 7, and another position gained for the Lamborghini. Really impressive drive this from Katzberg.
And there he's in. So the penalty is now being served. Vincent Abril takes control of the race with a comfortable 1.6 seconds can be comfortable. He's got a comfortable 1.6 second advantage.
Yep, so Vincent Abril leads for the HTP Bentley team. Christopher Mies serving his drive-through penalty. Laurens van Thor is in 2nd place. Marcus Winkelhock is in 3rd position. That's Enzo Eid, the man who will get into that number 2 WRT Audi at the back of the field. And off into the gravel trap goes Marco Bononomi.
Damage to the right rear. Is that a consequence of a tap from the Lamborghini? Well, is that secondary damage?
The Lamborghini was there, and he's managed to keep it going and get himself out of the gravel trap. That's good work from Bononomi.
Oh, in fact, maybe that was just the way the light was shining in the bodywork. There's no damage whatsoever. Just was a quirk. Here we go into turn 7 back. And coming into turn 8 himself. Between turns. He got on the curb and spun it up. He spun the right rear and the left rear as the race leader Vincent Abril, and nice clean exit, no abuse of the circuit limits. comes across the line, 1 minute 47.3 against a 46.8 for Laurens Van Thor. Van Thor has picked the pace up again. He's sort of ebbed and flowed lap on lap. Some laps he's doing a 147, some he's doing a 146.
Oh, that's brave from Christopher Mies up the inside of Marco Bononomi. Came from a long way back. Bononomi gave him space, and they're going to go side by side through this final. Well, no, they're not. Mies is going to go through. So Christopher Mies up into 13th position then, past Marco Bononomi. Both of those two have had their trials today, and Bononomi decides to come in to hand over to Felipe Salaquada with the pit window open, also in his Caca Bueno and Sergio Jimenez's car, the Zero BMW. I wonder if Jimenez will strap him in a little tighter today after
or maybe leave the belts loose. Actually, the worst option is having them loose rather than being tight. So here we see Bononomi in.
Handing over to Felipe Salaquada. So difficult day for ISR, unfortunately, after showing some good pace in qualifying. And there's still this battle going on, and Valdeno Brito ahead of Marco Asman just about.
Yeah, I mean, the Mercedes tried to go the long way around down at turn 5, and of course, being on the inside as the BMW was, he had control in the exit, and he then actually was able to control the speed off the corner from the Mercedes at the same time, which is one of the little tricks as a racing driver you soon learn to develop to give you somewhat of an advantage, as we see again. Number 84, the lead Bentley. The Bentley's been pretty quick also in the straight. I mean, outside of the Nissan, it's been the quickest, the best of the rest. An early stop, interesting.
Yeah, so Vincent Abril comes in to hand over to Maxi Buch. Buch was actually quicker in the qualifying session earlier on today, so this is one to keep an eye on. So the 84 Bentley comes in from the lead of the race. Now there is Max Buch in his new helmet. Used to be a sort of orangey, ready number. Now he's gone blue, like the car, I suppose. Let's see how well this pit stop goes for the HTP squad. A very experienced outfit. Away go the tyres. The car goes off the jacks.
Good stop.
And away it goes. Looked pretty clean to me.
Yeah, I think they'll be happy with that one, and that's what it's all about. You know, they came in, the pit lane was clear, they didn't have any concern with any other traffic around them, so they did their job and did it well. So Max Buch has rejoined in 12th place, so wait and see just where all this plays out. Waiting for the lead and second place Audis to make their pit stop. We've got just coming up to oh, here we are. So Van Thor is, I think he'd be quite happy to get out of the car. I don't think this has been a happy stint for Laurens Van Thor. It'll be Robin Vriend standing there with a seat insert in his right hand, who will pop in and hopefully won't be shocked by how the car is performing. There's a great drive by Nicky Katzberg.
Yeah, he's right on the back of Norbert Siegler now. The other interesting part of this is whether Marcus Winkelhock can use the clear air to perhaps leapfrog this number 1 WRT Audi.
He's got this lap and one more lap in which he can try and pick up, maybe it'll be no more than maybe 2 seconds a lap, or 2 seconds over the 2 laps. But every 2 seconds counts. It means there's a little bit less pressure here in the pit lane for the Phoenix team to get that car serviced. Robin Vriend gets away.
So now the question is, where is that 84 HTP Bentley? Coming around the final corner is the answer. Max Buch at the wheel. Robin Vriend is making his way out of the pit lane now. This is going to be quite tight, actually. The number 1 WRT Audi hits the limiter and floors the throttle. This is going to be very, very close between the two of them, and I think the number 1 car is into the lead, but Buch's going to have the momentum. Buch's going to have the speed. Buch's going to attack on the run down towards turn 3, noses towards the inside, not close enough to get past, and the number 1 WRT Audi championship leaders have managed to leapfrog the Bentley.
And Maximilian Buch had to get on the brakes big time because he was about to run into the back of the Audi, and that's what I was talking about, pit stops and winning a race in the pit lane, and that's what WRT have done. They've given their driver Robin Vriend the opportunity to get into the lead of this race because they did a quicker pit stop than the great pit stop we saw from the Bentley team, the HTP team. As the Lamborghini comes in, a great drive by Nicky Katzberg, going to hand over to Albert von Thun and Taxis. So here is the battle for the lead now, and this is not quite because there's still Stippler in effect is in the lead. Frank Stippler, everybody else above him has now made pit stops. Come on, get the car running. Come on, Nicky Meyer-Melnhoff, what are you? You've lost 3 seconds sitting there.
On board with the Bentley, coming through the final corner. Really good run through there from Maxi Buch, and he is closing in on the back of Robin Freins as they come down towards turn 1. Keep an eye out to the right-hand side. Are we going to see a Phoenix Audi? Not quite. Now Buch looks to the inside into turn 1, gets on the brakes, gets the lead of the race. Freins tries to hold on very cleverly. Buch just opens up the steering a little and squeezes him out wide. Bentley back in the lead.
Yeah, that was a good overtake by the German driver Maximilian Buch. He got the advantage off turn 15, that little bit of additional straight line speed that Bentley has over the Audi.
Here's a look at the replay then, and sells him the dummy a little bit, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, that's good overtaking. And been side by side turning in. The Bentley's got to slow down more than the Audi because it's a tighter apex for him. And in doing so, the back of the car got unstable, forcing Freins to have to go off track. And I would call that a racing incident. There's no malice. What Freins did was pretty fair. He didn't try to deliberately block. But here you can see how much tighter it was. I mean, just simply, Maxi Buch couldn't get the car slowed down. So there's a battle coming down
Philippe
here.
Salaquada looking to the inside of Enzo Eid. He manages to get the inside line, and that's 11th position now for the ISR Audi.
Now that's how you do it. You know, that's a clean overtake. Enzo Eid recognised that he had no choice, but Salaquada got the car slowed down, and he didn't overrun as he got to the apex. So good bit of driving by the two Audi drivers.
Here's a look at the replay.
Yeah, I mean, side by side, and Enzo goes over to the left, Salaquada, but the key is Salaquada gets the car slowed down, that he can take a line and not then have to run very, very wide and almost run off the circuit, as we did see Maximilian Buch do when he was getting a pass for the lead from Robert Freins.
Philippe Salaquada now trying to find a way past Alexei Kadachev after Max van Splunteren went past. Here's the look from Salaquada. He goes through past Kadachev. That car still recovering from spinning into the gravel earlier on. And there, out of the race, unfortunately, is Stefan Rakelmi. He and Ortelli having a discussion. And I think it was just a mechanical problem for Rakelmi. We didn't see him have any contact out there. So the number 3 WRT Audi out of the race, our first retirement. Now watch car 1 here, Robin Freins through this final corner, and there you can see he's got 2 wheels. He hasn't got any wheels on the tarmac, and
yes,
that is how the stewards decide whether you're going a bit OTT.
Yeah, and I think there will be a warning given for that. There'll be no penalty. If you repeat it again and again, then I think the penalty could come.
Car 71 has been told to respect the track limits as well. That is Alexei Vasiliev in the Mercedes, who's last of our runners on the lead lap so far. So it's not just the leaders who are getting warnings. Very wide there for Maximilian Buch, and this could be an opportunity for Robin Freins. Buch's made the mistake. Freins will try and go all the way around the outside. That's not going to work, but he'll try and get the cut back and desperately bring some pace into the final corner, but he's got to be careful not to take too much curb. Drive-through penalty for cars 70 and 77 for not respecting the track limits. That's Alexei Kadachev in the GT Russian racing car and Valdeno Brito for BMW Team Brazil. So not a good weekend for the Brazilians here.
The gap is slightly less on the straight this time than it has been maybe in some other laps, but still nowhere near enough. And there we look and see. There he comes up and he turns in, and watch the back of the car. It's just about to bobble. It just looked, that camera doesn't give it such a, it was the onboard shot from the Audi that really gave us, there we see it now. That's the shot that really gave us the indication. But of course he was being forced to the outside of the corner, the long way around, the dirtier line. Buch was able to keep the inside line tight. Freins made the cut back, but again, no momentum to take him forward.
So now they come across the line to start the final lap of the race here in the qualifying race in the Algarve. Final lap begins with just half a second between our race leaders. Nerves on the face of Renaud Dufour. Nerves on the face of Vincent Abril. And I imagine all around the WRT garage too. The clock counts down to 0, so we are on the final tour of this Algarve circuit. Where can Robin Freins try and make his pass? It's got to really be up towards 13 and 14, because he's not going to make an overtake going into the final corner. It's got to be done before then. And even if he gets past, oh, look at that great drive out of the corner from Freins. Is he going to be close enough perhaps for a look into 7 or 8? Buch holds the middle ground. And France is getting really close now. Much wider line to take into turn 8. And now he's going to have the drive up. They'll crest the hill. The next corner's a left-hander. And he's going to get squeezed towards the outside. Tries to go all the way around the outside. Robin Frains side by side for the lead. There's contact. Frains is through, but he can't get it stopped. And that means that Buch is going to hold on to take victory here in the Algarve. Round of applause from the Bentley garage because HTP think they've got it wrapped up now. Just 2 more corners to go. What a move that was from Robin Frains. If it had come off, it would have been superb. But Max Buch has held firm. They won the last race of the championship 9 weeks ago in Moscow. And now the men who are second in the championship are going to take some points out of Frains and Vanthor's lead. It's victory for HTP here in Algarve. Maximilian Buch and Vincent Abril win the qualifying race. It's second across the line for Robin Frains and Laurens Vanthor, but what a race that was, and what a final lap, and what an effort as well from Robin Frains to try and get through. He knew he had to do something different. He almost pulled it off. Third across the line, Nicky Mermelnoff and Marcus Finkelhock, their first podium since Baku last year. Fourth across the line, Marco Seefried and Norbert Seidler. It's a 5th place for Albert von Turnentaxis and Nicky Katzberg after starting from the pit lane. 6th across the line is going to be James Nash, just about from Caca Bueno, so Bueno closed in towards the end of that race. But what great clean racing that was as well. I think that was the highlight of that. Max van Splunteren comes through in 8th position and he wins his class. Here's a look at it again. So Frains had done well. It all came from the hairpin. Buch went a little defensive into the hairpin. Then Frains gets the drive out of this corner. The next hill, the next turn is a downhill left-hander. Look at that. Around the outside, a bit of contact there. I think there's the tiniest of touches. And Frains just couldn't get it stopped quite in time. But now let's hear from our race winners. They are both down there in the garage with John Watson.
Well, I'm just with Maximilian Buch. Robin Frains has come along to say, well done. But tell me, Maximilian, that was tight and up into turn 9. The lead of the race that you'd basically been controlling looked like it was about to all go in one corner.
Yeah, it was tough. It was really tough race. Robin was all over me in my stint, all over my back. He was faster, but for sure in the last lap, it shouldn't be so easy to overtake me, especially if it's for the lead and for a good base for tomorrow. So I'm quite happy that I made it.
Now, you were a bit hard on him into turn 1 just after you started your stint. Do you think he sort of was trying to pay that back?
Was it hard?
Was it ever?
I mean, I didn't touch him all. I mean, I went to the inside and I had to break down the car a lot because of track limits, because like everyone needs to respect track limits. And I went to the inside but didn't touch him.
I'll talk to you about it later. Vincent, congratulations. But also, you got involved in controversy in turn 1 with Christopher Mies. He went the long way around. If you got the lead, then he had to drive through penalty.
Yeah, as he should, because I didn't know where he was really, because I saw him coming back and he carried a lot more speed, of course, going outside the track. So from then I just kept calm. I knew he was getting a drive through. So the first stint was good for us, and we managed to pull a little bit of a gap. And then Maxi did a fantastic race, and the last lap was tough to watch, but really nice move.
Well done, both of you. Congratulations.
Here's a look at the results after 34 laps of racing around the Algarve, and it is victory in the end for the Bentley Continental GT3 for HTP. Max Buch and Vincent Abril holding on. Robin Frains and Laurens Vanthor finishing second, and in fact Frains doing a good job to finish second after he blew the tyre on that final lap. Mermelnoff and Marcus Finkelhock finishing in third. Seefried and Seidler in fourth. Von Turnentaxis and Katzberg fifth after starting from the pit lane, which was a very good effort from the Reiter Engineering Lamborghini team. Then the next to the WRT Audis, Nash and Stippler, Caca Bueno and Sergio Jimenez, very close behind them. Van Splunter and Simkoviak win their Silver Cup class, Salaquadra and Bononomi 9th, Ede Mies 10th, Vasiliev and Asma 11th, and 12th place in the end for Alexei Karachev and Christophe Bouchou. So there are our winners on the top step of the podium. Trophies aloft for Maximilian Buch and Vincent Abril. The main race for the 5th round of the Blancpain Sprint Series of 2015 is due to get underway in just a couple of moments' time. We're here in the Algarve, in the most southwesterly part of Europe, right on the bottom southern tip of Portugal, and it's a beautiful day, and it really is a perfect day for racing. 28.7 degrees, the air temperature considerably higher than yesterday, track temperature up at 40.1 degrees centigrade, ahead of this 1 hour race, which will go an awful long way in deciding where we will be at going into the final 2 rounds of the championship as far as that is concerned. Here's a look at the circuit here in the Algarve. It's a fantastic undulating track, plenty of corners, 15 corners, and it really is the undulation that you can see here that makes it such a spectacular venue, and it always provides us with some spectacular racing. 4.653 kilometers long, and the Blancpain Series has been coming here for a good number of years now. As far as the championship is concerned, coming into this race, 13 points between Robin Freins and Laurens Vanthoor, who are first in the standings, and Abril and Buch are second in the championship at the moment, but those two are in the opposite positions on the grid. It's Buch and Abril on pole, Freins and Vanthoor second on the grid. Attila Abreu and Valdena Brito had a difficult day yesterday, so they are not entirely out of contention, but it's going to be very tough for them to find their way back to the top. Ortelli and Raquelme there in 4th, Siegfried and Seidler in 5th. Further down the order, you've got Marcus Winkelhock and Nicky Melnoff, who will be starting in 3rd place on the grid, looking to pick up more points for them. Albert von Turnen Taxis there in 11th position after finishing in 5th yesterday. Further down the order, you've got Craig Dolby and Sean Walkinshaw, who will have to start from the back of the field after a electronic problem yesterday put them out of contention, and Bononomi and Salaquada as well will be hoping to pick up some points today as they start in 9th position. So there you can see the grid. My name's Jack Nichols. Down on the grid is John Watson, and he's got Vincent Abril, who is the teammate of the pole-sitting Bentley driver Max Buch. Let's hear from him now.
Vincent Abril, victory yesterday for you and Max Buch. It wasn't all that easy, was it?
Not at all. To be honest, we were surprised by the fight back from the Audi, especially Christopher Mies in the first stint. Even though he had a drive-through, he was very quick. So we for sure have a fight today as well. And yeah, with the number 1 Audi, we always know they're on top of their game. So we're going to have to be pretty quick, I think.
Now, yesterday was dull, overcast, not cold, but not anything like we've got today. It's clear skies, a lot more temperature. What's that going to do to the Bentley?
It's an unknown, to be fair with you. I don't exactly know. Honestly, I think it's going to be the same for everyone. Just a bit harder on the tires and on the engines, but overall, I think we've got good adaptation to any conditions with the team. So we did the right moves, hopefully, for the race, and we prepared for that.
Now, it looks like you had an advantage on the straight, and in effect, that's where the pass for the victory came. Is that going to be the same this afternoon?
To be honest, we don't only have an advantage on the straight, for sure. The only straight we have is this one, and we have a great exit off the last corner. But straight line speed, you could see that Freins could pull side by side with Maxi on the back straight. So we're quite good before the overtaking spots, so that's helping us if we're in front. But yeah, I think it's going to be game on for sure.
Well, you enjoy it. Many thanks.
Thanks, John.
So that's a very good point that is made there about the heat. It is much hotter today, and as a result, the Audis are thinking they might struggle a little more in these hot conditions. It doesn't do good things to the Audi engine the hotter it is. So that's their slight concern, and that's their claim for why they always go a little poorly at Paul Ricard, for example, because the long straights combined with the hot temperatures means that they tend to struggle. There is the number 1 car that is leading the championship by those 13 points, and it will be started by Robin Freins, and Laurens Vanthoor will then take over. Doesn't look like Vanthoor's around at the moment, does it? So I don't think we'll be hearing from them. He's obviously back in the garage at the moment, and Robin Freins is at the wheel getting ready to go. Third on the grid is going to be the Phoenix Racing Audi, Nicky Melnoff and Marcus Winkelhock, while 4th on the grid will be the Rinaldi Ferrari pairing. Marco Seefried will be starting, Norbert Seidler will be taking over.
Norbert Seidler, 2nd row of the grid. I mean, there was a tough race in the early part, but you got that 2nd row position.
Yeah, it was good. The race yesterday was quite good. We started on B9 and we arrived on B4. But today we hope to to get a podium. That's what our goal is for today. We have to push a lot because we are not right there with the speed, but I think on a 1 hour race there is a lot possible, and we have to do no mistakes, and that's our goal, and then we hopefully are on the podium.
Now in practice we saw the car look very tricky, difficult to drive. Have you got that resolved?
We solved it a bit, but not everything. So it's still really difficult to drive, but yeah, we try to make no mistakes, and that's what our goal is for this race.
See you later.
Thank you.
Yeah, good race yesterday from the 333 Rinaldi team of Marco Seefried and Norbert Siedler in that car that they share with Renat Salikov in the Blancpain Endurance Series. And they are going to be starting in 4th place on the grid then, that 333 Rinaldi machine. Then behind, starting in 5th, is going to be Albert von Turnen Taxis and Nicky Katzberg. But let's go back to the 3rd place car. Marcus Wingelhock is the Phoenix Racing driver.
Marcus, yesterday you were all over the back of the #1 Audi. You're going to start behind the winning Bentley into turn 1. That's not a very long run down into turn 1. Can you do anything?
Yeah, I hope so, but I told Nicky to go no risk at all. I think the main goal for him should be to keep the 3rd position during his stint, and then when we do the driver change, I try to do the rest. So we don't go any risk, or he doesn't go any risk now. And I told him if they are a little bit faster, just let them go and try to keep the 3rd position.
Yeah, you've told him all this, but has he bothered to listen to you?
I hope so, for sure. He's also a race driver, and I guess he wants to gain 1 or 2 positions more for turn 1. But I think he's clever enough, and yeah, I think we are in a good chance today, and the car is running really well. So I told him don't go any risk, and I think we have a good chance to go on the podium today again.
Now this morning in warm-up, the fastest car in a straight line was the car beside you, the Ferrari. Is that going to be a problem?
Yeah, I think especially at the start it might be a little problem. The Ferrari is really fast straight line, but even if you are only 4th after the first corner, I told him just try to follow the Ferrari then, and try to keep the car on the track and then bring it back on a safe position.
Sure you will. Many thanks.
Thank you.
Marcus Wingelhock, the former Formula 1 racer, had that one race at the Nürburgring in 2007. And he and Nicky Mermonov got a podium yesterday, which they were very, very happy with. And in fact, Wingelhock had really good pace in the early stages. Was all over the back of the #1 Audi that went on to finish in 2nd place, but a bit of a slow pit stop knocked them out of contention, really. The 88 Reiter Engineering Lamborghini will start in 5th position on the grid. They started in the pit lane yesterday, but came through to finish 5th. And there is Albert von Turnen Taxis, the man who will start that car before handing over to Nicky Katzberg. 5th on the grid for him. Hopefully he'll get a better start than in Moscow last time out, where he got a little bit swamped at the start line and ended up getting involved in an incident and spun, and it wasn't the ideal end to the weekend for Reiter, who'd had such a strong run. So there is the car that will start in 2nd place on the grid and is leading the championship, the #1 WRT Audi. Keep an eye out as well for that green Rinaldi Ferrari. Marco Seefried and Norbert Siedler will be driving that car, and I think they could be, well, definitely in contention for a podium. Then we've got James Nash starting there in 6th position, so that's good news for James Nash. We'll see what he can do from there. Max van Splunteren is going to be starting that 83 Bentley, and he's looked quick whenever he's been in the car, Max van Splunteren, so don't be surprised to see that Bentley making up places at the start, because it can be a bit of a rocket ship off the line at times. Then we have Enzo Eid there in the #2 Audi. He had to serve a drive-through penalty, or rather his teammate did, after an illegal overtake at the start of the race. Then we've got the 2 GT Russian cars, and then at the back of the field we are going to be having the always evolving motorsport Nissan, Sean Walkinshaw and Craig Dolby. And at the back of the pack will be Stefan Rakelmi and Stefan Otelli after they've retired from the race yesterday, and it will be the Monegasque racer Stefan Rakelmi that will be starting the race. So the engines are getting fired up. We are very soon to be going racing here in Algarve. It's round 5 of the Blancpain Sprint Series. We've been to Nogaro, we've been to Brands Hatch, we've been to Zolder, we've been to Moscow. After this, we've just got Misano and Zandvoort to come. As the engine revs begin to rise, and any moment now the Audi safety car will lead the field away. Once the grid is cleared, there's the 15-second board. Safety car pulls away, and they will go around in 2x2. A rolling start as ever, a 1 hour race. Pit stop window between 25 minutes and 35 minutes where you'll come in, change all your tyres, change all your drivers. And at the end of this 1 hour, we'll have a clearer example of what the championship stakes are like. Will Freins and Vanthor extend their championship lead? Will Abril and Bouk close in on the championship leaders in the Belgian WRT team? Very interesting race we've got coming up here for you at the Algarve. A wonderful circuit, lots of undulations. Overtaking can be a little tricky, but it's really a difficult circuit to master, and one that tests even the best GT drivers that we have out there. And that's something that's been so entertaining this year, is watching Robin Freins and Laurens Vanthor and everyone else battle. Here's a look at the grid. On pole position is the 84 Bentley, Maximilian Bouk behind the wheel, Robin Freins, championship leaders and championship rivals alongside them on the front row. Nicky Meermanhoff will start the Phoenix Audi third, in front of the fast-starting Marco Seefried in the 333 Renaudi Ferrari. Albert von Turnentaxis fifth for Lamborghini, ahead of James Nash, the Englishman, in the second of the WRT Audis. Kaka Bueno will start in seventh. He had a very strong second stint yesterday. He's in front of the Bentley of Max van Splunteren. Philippe Salaquada and Enzo Ede in 9th and 10th places. Both of those Audis had their trials and tribulations yesterday. Alexei Vasiliev and Alexei Kadachev are in 11th and 12th positions. 13th and 14th for Attila Abreu and Sean Walkinshaw after they suffered electrical problems yesterday in the Nissan, and a retirement Stefan Rakelmi means he will be starting in 15th place at the back of the grid. So the cars winding their way around the circuit now on a beautiful day. And the temperature very much up compared to yesterday. Will that affect the Audi's engine? That's the kind of biggest question, I suppose. And who will have the pace? That's Vincent Abril, the sister driver in the race leading at the start. Anyway, 84 HTP Bentley, John.
Yes, I was just talking with Vincent Abril on the grid, and to give an indication of just how much warmer it is today, he said to me, "Are you not roasting in one of those black SRO shirts?" I said, "Listen, we are professionals. We deal with these issues." The poor kid didn't know what to do with himself.
Well, I mean, yeah, we'll see. But no, it certainly seems a little warmer today than it was yesterday. And whether that'll affect the cars or not, and affect the race and affect the tyres, we'll have to wait and see.
The other thing you always forget about here at Portimao is that on the start-finish straight, the start is almost at the end of the straight. And it's just that short run over the crest into turn one. Again, just keep an eye on what happens at the start, because Christopher Hassett got caught out. He was actually off the throttle when the lights went red, whereas the Bentley was on the throttle, and that's where the gap, the advantage went to the Bentley into turn one.
The main race for round 5 of the Blancpain Sprint Series is about to get underway. The car we're on board with here is the pole sitter, and it's Maximilian Bouk behind the wheel, former Blancpain Endurance Series champion. Alongside him on the front row is Robin Freins, one of the top single-seater racers around back in the day. Now he's switched to GTs, and he is looking to extend he and Laurens Vanthor's championship advantage. Watch the lights. When they go out, the 1 hour race begins in round 5 of the Blancpain Sprint Series. There it goes, and it's a very good start from Nicky Meermanhoff. Darts to the inside, and the Bentley's going nowhere. He's trying to cover the inside line, and they've got a good start. They almost touch on the run down to turn 1, and just about holding the lead is Maximilian Bouk, despite a poor start. Nicky Meermanhoff holds on there in third position. He's got the Ferrari going around the outside of him, but Nicky should be able to hold on to that third position spot. But that shows you, even if the Bentley gets a poor start, the amount of grunt it's got is phenomenal to hold the lead of the race.
Yeah, I mean, that was a good start indeed from Max Bouk. He used every advantage of being in the front row of the grid, primarily being on the inside going into turn 1, which gave him the option of being first in, and then just simply blocking everybody else back to the speed he was running at. The car I really want to watch is the Ferrari, the green Ferrari, number 333, in 4th place. Almost took that 3rd place away from Nicky Meermanhoff. And as I think it was on the grid talking to Marcus Winkelhock, they're concerned about the Ferrari. They know that it's got good straight line speed, and they don't want to be mugged on the straight. They don't mind being beaten just by being a quicker driven car, but just simply being mugged on the straight would be not very happy for those guys.
Albert von Turnentaxis here is doing battle with a very good start from Philippe Salaquada. He's managed to get up right onto the back of von Turnentaxis. The two Brazilian BMWs are somehow running side by side, despite one starting 7th and the other starting 13th. Somehow they're right together on the racetrack. So a very good start from Attila Abreu. He's now in front of his teammate in actual fact. So that is really strong stuff as they make their way now around towards the end of the first lap. The Nissan lost a little bit of position down at the hairpin. Sean Walkinshaw got pushed out wide and as a result lost a few places, but Maximilian Buch in the Bentley starting to pull clear at the end of lap 1. It's Buch in the Bentley who leads. It's Freins in the WRT Audi who's in second place, and it's third for Nicky Meyer-Melnhof.
So wait to see what the gap is coming across the line. Well, it's 1.2 seconds, first to second, a big lock-up or a big blow-up.
No, it's the Bentley front left puncture for Jules Simkowiak and Max van Splunteren in that Bentley. I think it's a puncture.
Yes, well, I'm not sure it's a puncture or it's a suspension. It's a suspension, I think. Whether that's a contact, there has been... It looks like there's been contact on the left front and the wheel is pointing out. So one of the tie rods or a part of the suspension has failed and it's pulled off now, coming out of turn 2 into turn 3. And that car had made a good start, but of course it only made the one lap and that's race over.
Yep, a real shame for Max van Splunteren, who started that car in 8th place. It was still in 8th place as they came across the line, despite being leapfrogged. And, I think it might have come together with the Zero BMW. They were together, and it's front left, rear right. Yep. You don't need Miss Marple for that one.
No, you don't. And in fact, you can imagine you could see a little bit of damage. We couldn't identify the paint on the car, but with anything that's going to be yellow, you have to think it's going to be one of the Brazil BMWs.
We'll see if the safety car comes out there, because Max van Splunteren has parked it in the gravel trap, so that could be interesting to see. But this battle, as you said, John, is going to be very much on for third place.
Yeah, and again, the Ferrari a little bit closer as they come out of turns 11, down the dip into 12 and up the hill into 13. So just interesting to see the Ferrari. We know it's a quick car, but it had the quickest straight line speed in this morning's warm-up. Now that isn't relevant to anything other than what happened in warm-up. It's what's happening now in totally different ambient conditions, much warmer track temperatures. But I mean, he's all over.
He's going for the inside at the final corner. This is bold stuff from Marco Seefried. He's hanging on the inside line side by side around the final corner, and Meyer-Melnhof holds the lead for the time being, but now he's going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get caught by the Ferrari. Meyer-Melnhof goes to the right to use the inside line, but I think the straight line speed of the Ferrari is taking it clear. And indeed it has, and it's all done pretty comfortably coming down the main straight. Nicky Meyer-Melnhof is great defence of his third place coming through turn 15, really for nothing. But as Marcus Winkelhock said, he's not going to do anything daft or take any chances, and he's just lost one place. But there's a part of the tower now. Get out of the way. We assume that was from the BMW. It's hard to tell whether that was the BMW or the Bentley, but where that tower is, I assume it's from the BMW.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit further around the track, isn't it? So we haven't got the safety car at the moment. We've got the yellow flags at turn 3. There you can see the tyre on the exit. And someone's going to collect that before too long, aren't they? An unsighted driver as they come around. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a safety car deployed for this one. But actually they've got enough time now that everyone's gone through to leg it out there.
Yeah, I mean, once the final car goes through, then that should be no problem for the marshals to get onto the track and remove the tyre. The tyre will still be probably quite warm, so be careful grabbing it, but you might want to wear a pair of gloves. It's often the case, not mechanics, but corner workers run out on a track to remove a part of a car.
Here he goes.
He's got gloves on. I think he's got something on his hands anyway. So the tyre will be now removed, and you can see what's remaining of the carcass. Another bit of something debris on the track. Another corner worker going out to remove that. So they've got enough time. The cars are just coming up to the exit of turn 14. And it's a 2.2 second advantage Max Buch has got, and he's really used that pole position to leap ahead of Robin Freins. Now, Robin Freins yesterday in these cooler conditions was literally all over the back of the Bentley once they lost the lead. The Bentley got the lead into turn 1, but at the end of the race the Audi was coming back so strongly, and in fact into turn 9 in the final lap almost took the lead of the race.
So there is the Zero BMW, Caca Bueno at the wheel, and you can see he's clearly had a bit of a smack on the rear right. Also bad news for James Nash. He's dropped down to last in the race, and I don't really know why, unless he got involved in all of that incident, but he's 10 seconds off the rest of the pack, so don't know what happened to James Nash, but he's well down at the back.
We never saw the reason for the contact between the BMW and the Bentley. We don't know whether it was two cars or maybe it was a third car involved as well, so that happened off camera, and we just have to now focus.
So through the hairpin at turn 5, and then so here's a look at the replay, and you'll see the Bentley and they come around there and they're okay, and then when you turn around here we're going to see cars off and debris and all over the place. So maybe they came together through the final corner.
Well, it looks to me like something in the front suspension failed, and that's the reason why the left wheel is pointing to the left, whereas the right wheel is pointing in a straight line. So it looks to me as if it was a component failure. It wasn't a tire failure from what we could see. So just simply something let go just on the exit of turn 15, which is not really the part of the racetrack you want to let go.
Unless, unless Bueno's lost the rear and the Bentley's gone into Brazil.
The contact happened earlier in the lap. The consequence of the contact is what we then saw on the pit straight.
Fastest middle sector of anyone on this lap has gone to Marco Seefried in the third place 333 Ferrari. Meanwhile, Sean Walkinshaw is on a mission to try and get past Enzo Ede in front of him as they come over the crest, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the Nissan go through here. An awful lot of straight line speed in that Nissan, goodness me, absolutely side by side, wheel to wheel stuff, and Sean Walkinshaw holds onto the position going past Enzo Ede, so that is now 8th place for Walkinshaw from the back of the grid.
That's what they call a hard move, a hard pass, and Enzo Ede has also now been overtaken by the number 3 Audi, Stefan Rakelny. I don't know whether Enzo lost concentration or something, but certainly, and there Craig Dolby, who's going to jump into the Nissan when Sean brings it back into the pits. Happy with that. They had a difficult race. There was a relay somewhere in the electronics. That was the reason why the car had that pit stop. They didn't actually find it. They've just relocated some of the bits that where they think the items that were causing the problem, but car looks like it's running strongly right now.
But that one isn't. The Zero BMW of Caca Bueno returns to the pits again for a second pit stop, and the jacks are coming out, so it looks as though it's game over for the Zero BMW. Antonio Herman said that they were hit by the Bentley, so there's clearly been a collision between front left and rear right. But whether that caused the damage or was because of the damage, we don't know. But anyway, that's the end of that chapter. 51 minutes to go, and Maximilian Buch has got a 2.8 second lead over Robin Freins.
Yeah, I mean, he's running on that last lap. He was 0.7 of a second quicker than the Audi driver in second place. So it looks as if Max Buch is very much in control of the lead, and he's unchallenged, and he's driving in clear air. He's just thinking about just the laps he has to do till the pit stop window opens, and he's brought in by the HTP team to change drivers. Vincent Abril will get in for the final phase. And what a nice comfortable position, contrasting to what we had yesterday, where really it was a white knuckle ride all the way to the checkered flag, and particularly on that final lap when Robin Freins in the Audi got alongside at the bottom of turn 9, the compression, then up the hill into turn 10 and turn 11, and it looked like he'd almost got the job done. But there was small contact, it cut a tyre down, and that then caused Freins to overrun the corner.
Yeah, it was great racing yesterday in the closing stages. Now, this is on board with Albert von Turn in Taxis, who's going defensive from Felipe Salaquada behind him on the run down towards the turn 5 hairpin. Well, he went defensive and then realised he was all right, moved back to the outside to take the corner properly. So this is Albert, who's in 5th place still, which is where he started, and he was very happy with that 5th place finish yesterday. And he's only 1.2 seconds behind Nicky Meyer-Melnhof in front, and actually he's been closing in over these last couple of laps. Took 0.8 of a second out of Nicky Meyer-Melnhof last time around.
Well, you could say this is going to be a battle of the two Aristos.
Yes, absolutely.
One's Austrian, one's German. You got it?
Yeah. And they used to be teammates as well in the GT3 European Championship a couple of years ago. So that could be interesting, because it looks as though Salaquada is kind of pushing the Lamborghini towards the other Audi in front.
I mean, this is about the best performance we've seen for a while for the 75 Audi.
Yeah.
And Felipe Salaquada and Marco Bononomi, who seemingly have found the sweet spot of the car here in Portimao. A circuit that is a great racetrack, but one that either you dial it in and you get the car working in your favour, or it doesn't work. So Nicky Katzberg looking suitably comfortable and relaxed as he just watched the laps count down. And Albert von Turn in Taxis, he's going to get a little bit more attention from the rear, I think, from Felipe Salaquada than he is actually now would like to do to Nicky Meyer-Melnhof.
Robin Freins, Albert von Turn in Taxis, and James Nash are all under investigation for abuse of track limits at the turn 1. Here's a look at the replay of the start then, and you'll see immediately Nicky Meyer-Melnhof dart out in the 3rd place Audi, because Maxi Buch doesn't react that quickly to the lights at all. So you wait for them to go out, boom, and then immediately Meyer-Melnhof goes through. Frates thinks he's got it, moves over, but the Bentley holds on in and then forcefully says, no, you going back over there, son.
Well, I think there's the difference in terms of the way the power delivery is from a V8 turbocharged engine in the Bentley and a normally aspirated V10 engine in the Audi. So that was all about torque, pulling the weight of the car forward rather than sheer. Oh, there, just about, well, there was very marginal contact, but nothing that would have caused damage to either car. But that was what Maxi Buch had to do to get the lead. He didn't want to let the Audi gain any advantage in case, as it turned out, that the circuit conditions maybe would have favoured the Audi more than the Bentley. We weren't to know any of this until the race did get underway.
I just wonder if we'll see any of the contact from that rear Ferrari camera. Probably not, actually, because it was a little bit further around the lap, so they'd probably broken away. This is still the replay of the start down into turn 5. Now watch the Bentley there on the outside with the 0, but he's still quite a way back from the 0 BMW there.
But the 0 and Volkanshaw also got very sideways coming out.
Yeah.
So the BMW ran very wide, forced the Bentley almost 4 wheels off the outside of the exit of turn 5. So it may have been small contact there, but whatever it was, it then paid back the Bentley, because at this point of the racetrack something let go and the car had to then be retired around at turn 3.
So Maximilian Buch leading the way for the HTP Bentley team, 4 seconds clear now of Robin Freins, who in turn is 4 seconds clear of Marco Seefried. So 8 seconds covering our top 3 after 13 minutes of racing, so it's not all kicking off just yet. Up at the front, further back, Niki Melnov has upped his pace a little and has pulled out a bit of an advantage to Albert von Turn and Taxis in 5th and Philippe Salaquada in 6th. Those two still running nose to tail, but Meyer Melnov has managed to maintain his advantage in 4th place at the moment. Then behind them, we've got Attila Abreu, Walkinshaw and Riquelme as they come up through. Oh, and I think Stefan Riquelme's just got Sean Walkinshaw, hasn't he?
Yes,
so
he has.
Stefan Riquelme now up into 8th place, Walkinshaw down to 9th. As they come through the right-hander, this is a circuit that doesn't really tend to suit the Nissans as they come up and crest the hill.
I mean, what the Nissan has got is, again, very similar to the Bentley. It's got that massive amount of and a bit of bodywork being removed. Is that a grill?
Looks like a barbecue.
Well, it looks like one of those grills that cover the drainage system on the track in those curbings. I'm assuming it's not that, but it does look remote. It does look very like it. Hopefully it isn't, and it's not going to have a bearing on that particular part of the racetrack.
So, less than 46 minutes to go. Pit stop window opens in about 10 minutes' time. And we saw yesterday WRT have the quicker pit stop of the two rivals up at the front, but there's 4.8 seconds now between them. France is losing out about 0.8 of a second a lap.
Yeah, there's obviously a reason for it, and the reason is that the Bentley's quicker on a lap, and the reason probably the Bentley's quicker on a lap is it's just got more grip. It's working better in these warmer conditions. Now, we also are aware that if you get hot conditions, and it's probably your track temperature will be somewhere in the middle to high 30s, that the Audi engine, if it gets hot, it doesn't really seem to like it. Now, nobody likes heat, no racing car likes heat, but some can deal with it better than others. That may be another reason why Robin Freins isn't able to maintain that close contact he did yesterday in those much cooler conditions.
Stefan Riquelme's on a bit of a mission now, isn't he? He's right up behind Attila Abreu in the 77 BMW Team Brazil car. This is the battle over 7th position, so Riquelme's got past Walkinshaw, now he's closing in on Abreu, and you'd have to say that the WRT Audi is probably one of the quickest cars that we've got here, so you'd think Riquelme would be able to make progress up the order, because his teammate Robin Freins is doing 46.4s, and at the moment Riquelme in traffic is doing 47.4s, so he's about a second a lap slower in the traffic. That last lap, Marco Seefried actually was 0.2 of a second quicker than Robin Freins in 2nd, but he's 3.9 seconds back. But that's where the gap's coming down.
Yeah, and that's going to be, I think, the battle before we get to the pit stop window that's going to be of most interest. Of course, we don't know how quick the Ferrari team, the Rinaldi team, will be able to turn the car around, but we do know that the number 1 Audi and the WRT Audi team, which is effectively almost a factory team, although it's privately run and funded, but they are outstanding in their servicing of a car. So again, we mentioned it yesterday, this race may well be a race that will be won or lost by the pit stops.
Yep, absolutely. It looked as though that had happened yesterday, didn't it, when Vanthor managed to leapfrog the Bentley, but then the Bentley fought back, overtook, and it was settled on track, which was fantastic to see. Into turn 1 again.
Yeah, one of the things we were thinking about just off camera before we went on air was, you know, you've got Maximilian Buch up against Robin Freins, and we're more accustomed to seeing Buch and Lawrence Van Voor up against one another. And it'd be nice to get the guys at some point, either individually or collectively, and ask them, as much as they're prepared to tell you, the fact that Buch's up against Freins, does that make him feel any more comfortable about the performance of what Freins and the Audi will do, or would he be more fearful if it was Lawrence Van Voor?
That's interesting. 43 minutes to go, and the way they work drivers is quite interesting, whether you're driver 1 or driver 2, because that depends on where you who starts your car in the main race and in the qualifying race. So it's a different driver that starts in both the main and the qualifying. So for example, in the 88 car, they have Nicky Katzberg start the qualifying race in order to get as far up the field as possible, with the theory that Albert will then be able to hold on to that position. Whereas if Albert were to start the qualifying race, he might, we've got a safety car deployed. So the safety car is deployed, which brings an end to my unusual ramblings.
It was a part of the griddle, the drainage system. There's a hole at the apex of turn 2. What we saw the marshal running away with was a metal griddle from what is part of the drainage system here in Portimao. And that's now been identified, and avoid apex at turn 2. Everybody has been given a warning. There's a yellow flag. Safety cars being deployed. I don't know what they can do, because those things, I would assumed, it's the grill that covers the drainage hole. So take the grill away and there's a big hole, and it's
just below what we're looking at there.
All they can do is have, in that part of the racetrack, in my view, a statutory yellow flag and a warning to everybody that there is an issue with the track. The only way to fix it is really to red flag it and do a proper fix, but I don't think that's going to be the option that we're going to see the race director take here this afternoon.
We've got some drills and stuff, so maybe it's just a case of drilling a new plate in, hopefully.
What do you drill it into? Because the old holes...
I don't know how it works.
It's when track maintenance and track repairs are carried out, you've got to do it properly, because if that was a bodged job, well, there they are with the new grills, and the guy's got he's got glue. Maybe glue's the answer. Quick fixing or quick setting glue. I mean, ordinarily on a street track, any metal griddle covering has to be welded and bolted into place, because the forces that are being affected by a modern race car, such as a GT3, are so much more than you'd get from the road car version. So that grill is taking a hammering every time a front wheel goes over it, and obviously it's done sufficient damage to the fixings that the fixings have broken, and that's the consequence. And I hope this safety car period isn't going to be too long, because we're only 5 minutes away now from the opening of the pit stop window for the 10-minute window.
And all that means that all of Maxi Buch's work up at the top has been eroded, and that advantage he had has now disappeared.
Well,
so
I think what's going to happen is we're going to see the work continuing into the opening of the pit stop window, and whether then people will determine to come in at the earliest opportunity and get their servicing over and done with, and then that would be my view. Let's have a look again at this is the start.
Yep, so it's Maxi Buch on the left, who doesn't react that well to the lights. Well, I don't think it was a terrible reaction to the lights, but certainly Freins got a good start, squeezed him over, and then Buch said, no sir, you're not squeezing me.
He lit the afterburners and off he went.
Yeah, exactly. And then the Ferrari got a good getaway as well.
Yeah, but Nicky Maramelnhoff planted his Audi on the bit of tarmac that the Ferrari wanted, and then a little bit of hip and shoulder.
Oh, there it goes. That was you saw
it's
the
shot flipping up.
Yeah. So if we see that one start shot again, you'll see it being kicked up, and that's where it happened. This is on board with the Bentley. Just cruises past, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it just simply once he got the momentum, it is all about torque that gave him the advantage. So we can't see that metal grill being flicked because it was on the inside, on the right-hand side of all the cars coming through turn 1.
And then they climb the hill, and you can see how busy it was getting further back in the pack as the work continues then.
I mean, if this is quick setting glue, or what else can it be? how long does it take for it to go off? I mean, if it goes off in enough time to let this race get underway, without the need of additional mental, securing it with bolts. There's nothing there for what I could see that it could be welded to. And of course, welding, whatever the material that is made of, I suspect is made of pig iron. You can't really weld pig iron, not with a normal welder. And where's the welder anyway? Well, the welder's probably on the beach down at Portimao getting a bit of sun with his family, I would have thought.
I've learnt more about welding in the last 30 seconds than I ever thought I knew. So yeah, you can't weld pig iron.
No,
that's the
not with a conventional welder. You
need a special welder then.
You need. From memory, I mean, I've had bits of pieces attempted to weld, and all it does is the weld. It doesn't weld what it's meant to. It doesn't join the two metals together. It just sits on top of the metal, and it therefore has only got a very, very marginal amount of security. And I mean, if you look at it sideways, it will pop it off. Nearly said something else there.
So we've got 37.5 minutes to go with our grill interlude while the safety car is out after a bit of damage to the circuit down at turn number 2. 37.5 minutes to go, as I say, and it's Maximilian Buch leading the way, Robin Freins in second place, Marco Seefried in third position. If Seefried can get a good start, he may be able to challenge that Audi, because he was closing in fractionally on Robin Freins. There you can see Laurens van Thor.
Yes, I mean, I think we're going to see as the 35-minute ticks by that everybody will be coming into the pits and do their driver change and then get back out again. And what Audi are going to hope to do is what they had the benefit of doing yesterday, was having a quicker stop than the Bentley HTP team to get the lead of the race, and of course have Laurens van Thor, their go-to de facto, the number one driver in the whole driver lineup.
So here we go. Watch the apex of turn 2 here, and you'll see the grills ping into the air. I don't know exactly, who kicks it up, or I don't, you can't blame anyone for it, but you'll see it in the middle. There it goes.
Yes, it was one of the BMWs.
Yeah,
it was the first of the two BMWs. You just saw that there's, and in fact, it pretty much hit the front of the Audi at the tail of the field, and that would have been Rakelny's car got hit by the grill itself, by that metal griddle, which probably weighs the best part of 2 kilograms. Those brave marshals standing there telling the drivers to stay well away. They need almost to have an instruction to every team that there's to be. No, there's the Audi coming in. Is that for a pit stop? No, that's for something else. And I wonder, is that the Rakelny car by any chance, having suffered damage from? So all the work is now complete, it appears.
It's James Nash. So it's the number 4 car of James Nash, who has had trouble throughout the race and maybe had a bit of contact earlier on, but he was really creeping down the pit lane.
Well, it's only half a minute to go before the pit stop when he's been waved through.
Oh
my goodness.
Stippler can't believe it.
Well, nor can we in the commentary booth. So James Nash, maybe he's still on UK time. Nobody told him UK time and Portugal are the same, did they?
So the safety car will be in this lap. So yeah, James.
Nash, I have to say, James, schoolboy error.
So he's obviously got to the pit entry point. That's why he slowed down, because he suddenly thought, well, hang on, what? And then he's, come in too late. But in theory, he should be able to catch up the pack, and he was last anyway, so he'll catch up the pack and be at the back of the pack by the time we get going again. Well, not quite.
I mean, in fairness, give James Nash the benefit of the doubt. There may have been something else that we are not aware of. We're taking the Michael out of the British driver. But you could see Frank Stippler's body language as almost exasperation. There is James Nash, giving it plenty around the rest of the racetrack, trying to catch up to the turn 14 where the field is now. Pit stop windows open, so whatever happens, I think we're going to see a line of cars all entering the pit lane.
But when will Maximilian Buch decide to go, and when will they decide to come into the pits? Will they do it ASAP, or will they stay out there? Safety car comes in, race gets back underway, Buchy floors the throttle, and let's see whether he decides to come out or stay in. He stays out, but Robin Freins comes in, so does Marco Seefried, so does everybody else. And now I think Buch's going to avoid the pit stop carnage that's about to happen, because you've got to be so careful now to release your cars back out onto the track.
Yeah, but because everybody was pretty much nose to tail, line astern, the length of time it takes to do the wheel change and the driver swap over was enough time. I don't think anybody was going to probably beat the Bentley with the exception of the number 1 Audi. But that's their decision to stay out. They're going to wait and let everybody go through this cycle. Max Buch has got a clear racetrack. There's only one of the 2 Mercedes.
It's busy in there, isn't it?
So this is the critical stop. Not a very well parked 75 Audi there, sort of trouble getting in, I think, to the garage. Just the cars ahead of them didn't give them enough space to get the cars squared up.
So away goes the number 1 WRT
Ferrari,
Audi.
look how quickly.
But it's out just behind the 6 Phoenix Audi. So that is great work from the number 6 car. Phoenix have managed to get into 3rd place. So Marcus Winkelhock is up into a net 3rd position, just in front of that Ferrari, side by side between the Brazilian BMW and the number 3 WRT Audi, and I think the BMW is just going to be in front. Yes, he is, as they rejoin the circuit. Slow stop, actually, for Lamborghini. The 88 Reiter car has lost a lot of places in the hands of Nicky Katzberg now.
That's a great shame, because Albert von Thun Taxis had kept was in fact in 5th place, so to drop all the way down probably to 10th or 11th, we couldn't quite get it as they were coming onto the circuit, and that's a big ask for Nicky Katzberg to recover what is now almost half distance in this race.
Great message on the timing trees here. The grid is fixed, but the glue is drying. Please tell your drivers to avoid it for a lap.
Listen, there's plenty of drivers who've got hair dryers. Somebody can go and find them and, give it a quicker hurry up.
So Max Buch stays out for another lap, setting the fastest final sector of the race as he does so, and he puts a lap now on Frank Stippler, who's at the wheel of that number 4 car, so they are a long way off the back of the field now.
The only question I have is, with everybody else coming in and changing on to fresh, maybe somebody's got a new set of rubber, and Max Buch is on a set of tyres that have done effectively now half the race. And look, Marcus Winkelhock, 1st sector, fastest of anybody, although Max Buch has got the fastest 3rd sector time. But I just wonder where the Bentley will be in lap times once we see the bulk of the field who did make that pit stop do their first flying laps.
But of course, they will then have less time to run on their next set of tyres as well, and Buch has just done the fastest 1st sector of the race so far, so he is super pushing on what I believe will be his in-lap. Then we've got Marcus Winkelhock there in 3rd position, quite a way off the back of Laurens Vanthoor at the moment. How far behind? 4.7 seconds. So that battle for 3rd place I think is going to be great with Norbert Siedler and Marcus Winkelhock. Then we've got Valdeno Brito running behind in what will be a net 5th position. And the rest of the cars coming through as Alexei Karachev has handed over now to his teammate Christoph Bouchou there. And that Mercedes rejoins the pack. They didn't gain much by staying out for an extra lap in the end. But here's our race-leading HTP Bentley. And I imagine we'll see him coming in this lap because he's got the 0 BMW up in front.
He's coming in, you can hear the thing, I was going to say, burbling.
Oh, look, but he's getting right held up behind that BMW. That could be crucial.
Well, they're certainly in the bit of the racetrack where there's no speed limit now going across the line, 50 kilometers per hour, so he'll be swearing in German under his helmet because he has been delayed maybe by, again, up to 2 seconds, one would estimate, because he was prepared to try and overtake the BMW. As they made their way into that sort of tapering entrance into the pit lane.
Yeah, so will that have cost them any time? This was the car that was leading the race here in the Algarve. It's Vincent Abril who's now getting into the car. Max Buch has strapped him in. Here comes the challenger around the final corner, but he stalled it!
Stalled it, keep it going, Vincent.
He's got going again now, but also
the
you
BMW.
Can see, and also they're right at the top of the pit lane. So I think the number 1 WRT Audi is going to move into the lead of the race here. Laurens Vanthoor over the crest of the hill, and he is going to be in 1st position now. The championship leaders gain the lead of the main race, and the Bentley's going to lose out to Marcus Winkelhock and to the 333 Rinaldi Ferrari on the way down into turn 1. So it's down to 4th place now for the HTP Bentley, thanks to getting stuck behind that BMW and the stall in the pits.
Yes, and 2, one, you couldn't control the BMW, that's just bad luck if you want to say, the BMW coming in somewhat lethargically, but then the restart for Vincent Abril got it rolling, then it the engine just appeared to die, and then he had to re-clutch it and get it going. And again, if you take probably about 4 seconds in total was the time lost for those 2 separate incidents, it probably wouldn't have been enough in spite of the good efforts by Maximilian Buch, I think the Audi was going to always just be fractionally ahead. So what we've now got is a situation where the Bentley's out of contention for even a podium. It's going to be a no easy task to fight ahead of a competitive Ferrari and a Marcus Winkelhock, who yesterday was actually chasing Lawrence Van Thor in that third place battle. And I asked Marcus Winkelhock, was Van Thor holding you up? And he said, well, not really. I think he was being more political than he was being candid. But Marcus Winkelhock certainly will have plenty of pace, but some way behind what is going to be the leading Audi of Laurent Van Thor.
And if things were to stay like this, the gap at the top of the championship would extend to 25 points for Robin Freins and Laurens Van Thor. So that is a big old advantage to take into the final 2 rounds at Misano and Zandvoort, especially when, I mean, I don't quite know how to say it, but HTP Bentley haven't lost this race, but they have the quickest car here. They had a 5-second advantage at the head of the field before the safety car came out, and now they're in 4th position.
Well, Laurens Van Thor has just gone and broken a 1-minute 45-second lap, and if anybody had any questions about what his form was yesterday afternoon, Saturday, he is back on form and considerably the quickest car of the field. Nobody has even done a 1:45, and he's into the high 1-minute 44s. So Laurent Van Thor has got a 6.7 second advantage over Marcus Winkelhock, who's having to defend against the Marcus Seefried in the Ferrari, a car we saw this morning that was quick in a straight line, and if he can get under the rear wing of the Audi, it could be vulnerable for second place into turn 1.
Meanwhile, we've got a great fight going on here. Christopher Mies trying to get past Nicky Katzberg into the hairpin. Katzberg just holds it around the outside, and they've all got bunched up behind Valdeno Brito in the 77 BMW Team Brazil car. On board we go with the 88 Reiter Engineering Lamborghini running in 7th place. So Katzberg's got past Mies in the opening of this lap, and Brito is nowhere near the apex there. Now we're going to see around the outside from the Lamborghini, then up the inside into turns 10 and 11, just as they tried to do yesterday for the lead of the race. This time Katzberg holds the inside line and moves up into 6th place, and he's been hit from behind, has he?
Yes, he has. I'm assuming he's been Albert. Yeah, exactly. And no more swearing on screen, please. Now that we assume was a tap from behind from the BMW. I was going to just say, good clean racing between the Brazil BMW and the Lamborghini, and all of a sudden then Lamborghini's going backwards into turn 11.
So that's a real shame for Nick Katzberg. It looked as though he had that move made. I don't quite know how he would have got hit from behind from the BMW, because the BMW would have been on the other side, unless he's hit him kind of square in the back. But anyway,
well, that's why we're making assumptions, but we can't be certain. It would be, I suppose you might say, being very tight in coming into turn 11. You could be on a dirtier part of the track, and being heavy on the brakes could have just destabilized the car, and that would have caused it to rotate. And we only know when Nicky Katzberg gets back after the race, and hopefully he'll give us a clear view.
These guys have now been joined by Craig Dolby in the Nissan, so that's good news for the always evolving motorsport team running that JRM built Nissan, as they run down into the hairpin of 5. And I think Valdeno Brito is going to be under more and more pressure as the race progresses.
Well, I would expect Christopher Mies to make a pretty short shift of the BMW. It's not been at its best here in Portimao. I thought with a beautiful sunny day here, that would have lifted the Brazilian drivers, but so far nothing has come. And Nicky Katzberg recovering from that moment a lap ago up at the top of turn 10 into turn 11. And he will, I'm sure he'll give an opinion as to what was the reason for that.
So they come, and then through the right-hander and down the hill the other side. Here's a look at the replay then. So he's there, and then... Oh, and then the BMW tries to cut back.
Yes, and I mean, that was a no-hooper. That was a no-hooper of a manoeuvre. And I mean, at that point, there's a narrowing gap. The Lamborghini's making its commitment into the corner, and there's just, in my view, there's no way that was a viable overtaking manoeuvre. Oh yeah, yeah, Kako, yeah, bad luck. Well, that's not bad luck. That was bad driving.
Jimenez and Bueno are out of the race. Both of the two guys watching on there. So the contact is under investigation. Is that a penalty for the BMW?
Well, in those circumstances, I feel it is, because the BMW didn't lose anything, and the Lamborghini clearly did. So I think it's wrong not to impose a penalty on the perpetrator. Now, I'm sure that the BMW will say, well, a Brito will say, oh, it was past. I was alongside. But
where's he from?
Well, that could have been from Northern Ireland, actually. So I think the stewards will look at it. They could take a view that it was a racing incident. I think that because Nicky Katzberg was penalised by being spun out and consequently losing, 5-6 places, then it wouldn't be unreasonable to impose a time penalty to the finishing time. Not necessarily a drive-through, that might be a harsh penalty, but certainly an added 10 seconds to the BMW.
Antonio Herman, the team manager of the BMW Team Brazil squad, has been asked to go to the race director immediately. We saw him there on the pit wall still at the moment, but we'll keep an eye on that one. And now he's going to be under pressure from Christopher Mies now in the number 2 WRT Audi. This is all over 6th place. Valdeno Brito in that yellow BMW holding on for the moment as they swing through and up the hill towards 13.
It's Craig Dolby who's shadowing these two cars that really is potentially the beneficiary, because he is using his car economically. And you notice in some of the turns up into turn 10, turn 11 on the exit, wasn't being aggressive on the throttle. Now Christopher Mies has got a run. He's going to have a look down the inside into 15, but he wasn't sufficiently far up to make it a viable manoeuvre, and he's lost out consequently from being a little bit. And he's going to face Craig Dolby.
Here comes Dolby, actually.
This is the point that Dolby's been waiting for.
Mies goes defensive, Dolby goes straight on, and that Nissan's got a real grunt in a straight line. Hasn't quite got the job done into turn 1. Definitively turns in though, and Craig Dolby goes through up into 7th place for the always evolving Motorsport Nissan. And that was exactly what he was waiting for, John.
I just saw him coming down turn 11. He wasn't being aggressive on the throttle. He wasn't overusing the car or the tyres, and he was watching the battle of the Audi and the BMW. So here's the Lamborghini. It's a bit like, here's Johnny. It's here's Nicky.
So he's managed to get back to the fight that he's done, and he's going to go past Christopher Mies here. Great drive out of the hairpin from Nicky Katzberg, and he is up, is he? Yes, job done. Into 8th position then for Nicky Katzberg. 7th is the Nissan of Craig Dolby. Still in 6th place, despite all of that, is the 77 Brazilian BMW of Valdeno Brito.
Yes. So let's see what Nicky Katzberg, he's definitely got a mission. And up into turn 10, turn 11. This is the highest part of the circuit, the Portimao 4.6 kilometer circuit. Then again another quick drop, then another compression up the hill, and braking into turn 13. So Katzberg will be looking, I'm quite certain, to get a good exit out of 13, and then really focus now from 14 all the way down into 15 and try and just swoop by the Nissan. That'll be no easy task. The Nissan, we know, has got that good straight line speed. It has been consistently through the weekend the quickest car in the speed traps. And again, you can see the but you see the aero effect. Nicky Katzberg had to hesitate before he got on the throttle. Now he's picking up the draft and he's closing fractionally, but nowhere near sufficiently to be able to put a threat to Craig Dolby in the 7th place at Nissan.
20 minutes to go here in the Algarve, and it is Laurens van Thor and Robin Frantz who are leading the way and looking to extend their championship advantage to something like 25 points. In 2nd place, it's Marcus Winkelhock and Nicky Meyer-Melnoff for the Phoenix Racing Audi team. 3rd is the 333 Ferrari of Marco Seefried and Norbert Siedler. Siedler at the wheel, and he's a couple of seconds down now on Marcus Winkelhock, and this Brazilian BMW has just been handed a drive-through penalty for car 77. Here's confirmation at the top of the screen for causing a collision with Nick Katzberg, and you can't really complain too much about that.
No, and it was an avoidable collision, and on top of which the car that he collided with then suffered the disadvantage of being knocked back through the field for 4 or 5 places. Fighting back now, I mean really going for big time, trying to do the same to Craig Dolby up the hill into turn 10. It's a sort of 2-part corner which you really try to make into a 1 apex altogether. You have to make the 2 cuts. But Nicky Katzberg clearly has got good speed in the Lamborghini at that part of the racetrack. Craig Dolby's got slightly more advantage in the off-corner performance, but he's got to be careful not to be too aggressive on the throttle. for fear of maybe damaging the rear tyres. But look at Katzberg, been right the back of the Nissan, couldn't get any closer, and a bobble from the Nissan. That's given Katzberg the run. He's going to enforce it. Craig Dolby's got to concede, and also the Audi will be trying to swoop through, but Dolby shut the door on the Audi. But the Audi will have a good run up the hill as he follows Dolby.
But so will the Nissan. That's still pokey in a straight line as they come down towards turn 1. Looks to the inside, but I don't think he's going to quite have enough pace to get past Katzberg into the braking zone for turn 1. That all came from 14, where Katzberg showed his nose, and I think that just pushed Dolby a little bit wide.
Well, it did push him wide. He got onto the slightly dirtier part of the racetrack. He wouldn't have been able to have the normal exit speed that he would expect it to have. Albert, I tell you what, you have a career in television with all those facial expressions.
So Katzberg is up into what is that now? 7th position, then past Craig Dolby, and I think there'll be part of Nicky Katzberg that doesn't want the Brazilian BMW to serve his drive-through penalty just yet. I think he'd like to overtake him on the road.
He might well do, but frankly, I wouldn't care. All I would want to know is that the BMW has got a penalty, and I would like it to serve it as soon as possible, and I don't want to get anywhere near the car in this sector of the race with just 17.5 minutes to go.
After that, he's about 8.5 seconds back from Stefan Ortelli, so I think that might be the end of the progress for Nicky Katzberg, because his fastest lap is about 7/10 quicker than Ortelli's, so to close in 8 seconds would take quite a while. Still Laurens Vanthoor leading a 7.8 second advantage up at the front over Marcus Fingelhock, who's in 2nd place in the number 6 Phoenix Racing Audi, and the 333 Rinaldi Ferrari of Norbert Siedler is in 3rd spot at the moment as they get on the brakes for 14. And you can see how quickly Katzberg, well, you know, considering he got punted out by this car a couple of laps ago, he's already on the back of it.
Yes, and maybe that is an indication of the pace that the BMW has been running at, that Nicky Katzberg has had more speed, and the sort of the very ambitious attempt to retake the position up into the top of the circuit, what, 5 or so laps now ago, by the BMW, really was an aimless hope. And Nicky Katzberg, he doesn't really need to pass the BMW. It will have to come in at some point sooner than later, and of course then the next car in line will be Stefan Ortelli, and that's somewhat 9 seconds up the road.
So on board again with Nicky Katzberg up through the hill at turn 4, and down towards the hairpin of 5, and it's really the next sequence of corners that the Lamborghini is particularly strong. And if you're Valdeno Brito, you must kind of look in the rear mirror and go, hang on, I punted you out of the race a couple of laps ago, how are you back again now?
I think maybe a little bit of radio communication might have gone backwards and forwards to the pits and to the BMW, but Nicky Katzberg is right on the gearbox, or the rear wing, I would say. Runs a little bit wide on the exit of turn 8, and what's he going to do? The BMW looks like it's slowed. It's something strange. I don't know why the Lamborghini would have caught it that quickly, just that part of the circuit, but it appeared to do so, and I don't know whether that was a bit of games or gamesmanship going on between the BMW and the Lamborghini. There's debris, no, it's not, just other things the camera's picking up. So I wonder, is this the lap the BMW is going to come in? I'm sure there's an unhappy Brazilian driver under the helmet feeling that I've been hard done by the car that is now once again right behind me.
Watch this though, Nicky Katzberg's got a great run through 14, not going to be quite close enough into 15, and as a result, as we were saying earlier, because of the wash, has to back out a little bit, and in comes the BMW. So Katzberg goes through up into 6th position, which I think is a reasonable effort considering they started in 5th and have had a spin and whatnot. But now we've got Christopher Mies in front of Craig Dolby. Did we see that happen?
No, we didn't. No. That he was hovering behind the rear of the Nissan, but he's gotten through somewhere. And again, it's just a question of whether the Nissan on this circuit, not necessarily the most ideal of circuits, maybe the rear tyre is beginning to feel the effects of the heat, which is the same for everybody, but some cars are slightly better balanced. As we see Valdeno Brito now make his way to the end of the pit lane and can get on the throttle. And I've no doubt when they get back into the garage there'll be haranguing going on between whose fault it was and was I penalised unfairly. And in this instance, I think that was a justified penalty.
Remember this guy, Laurens Vanthoor, 8.1 seconds clear in the lead of the race with 14 minutes to go. We haven't seen as much pace from Vincent Abril as I thought we might, considering the speed Maxi Buch had in the first stint of the race, where he was 0.8 of a second quicker than anyone else.
Yeah, but right now, Abril is running at the same pace as Seefried in the Ferrari and Winkelhock in the second place Audi. It's only a back to form, a back to normal, if you like to call it that, Laurens van Thor, who is running now in the high 1:45s, where his competitors are half a second at best, a lap slower.
There's the second place car cresting the hill now then. Marcus Winkelhock, 8.4 seconds back, and then Marco Seefried unable to do anything about Winkelhock. That last lap, Abril did take 0.4 of a second out of Marco Seefried, but that's all. Stefan Ortelli, good drive from him at the moment. He's running in 5th position. He and Raquelme have had a difficult season. They won the opening race of the season in Nogaro, second in the main race there, but since then they have not had another podium and not really had another good result, apart from 4th place in Moscow as a result of the Turn 1 catastrophes last time out. So it hasn't been great for them. 2 point scoring positions for the GT Russian Mercedes cars. Marco Asma in 9th place. The 70 car there of Christophe Bouchou is in 10th position, and the 75 ISR Audi of Marco Bononomi is down in 11th place. Did we see what happened to the ISR Audi? Because they were running up quite high earlier on, weren't they, in about 5th position, and we thought
what
a good job they were doing.
When it came in for the pit stop, it came in at a really odd angle.
Yes, that was it.
And whether that made a contribution to losing track position, it may have been a difficult stretch for the guys on the airlines to get around to the left rear of the car, which was sort of sticking at about 45 degrees to the pit lane.
And then they probably had trouble turning it around to get it out onto the pit lane as well. So that may have been the problem for the ISR Audi, which is a bit of a shame. Here's Abril.
Yeah, 12 minutes to go, and this Bentley is now drawing itself up to the rear of the Ferrari. The Ferrari had been in contention with Marcus Winkelhock after the pit stops, but has faded by about, 2 and a bit seconds, 3 seconds. And Vincent Abril, with 12 minutes remaining, is looking to try and get a podium out of this, and there's a realistic chance he can do. The Ferrari, we noted this morning, was quick in a straight line, but we know also so is the Bentley.
Yes, across the line they come, and the Bentley's probably a little stronger through the final corner as well than the Ferrari. As they get on the brakes into turn 1, the gap comes down to 1.1 seconds, so another 0.6 of a second removed from the Ferrari's advantage on that last lap. So Abril now getting in the zone and getting that Bentley to work, and this could be a consequence of the Bentley stopping a couple of laps later. Maybe his tyres are a little fresher than the Ferraris, with 11 minutes and 20 seconds to go.
Yeah, all those little details do have a bearing, but if that had been the case, I would have expected Vincent Abril to be more competitive all the way through, not towards the end of this race. So I think it's more to do with the Ferrari maybe dropping off the pace than it is the Bentley. The Bentley's been running consistently 146.3s, 0.4s, and right now the Ferrari's last lap was a 46.9. And that's really where the difference is coming.
Fantastic sound from the Ferrari. Climbing the hill. Then on the brakes. You can also see how undulating the track is from this view, because we'll then plunge back down again, and the Bentley almost disappears out of view, such as the hill, and then back up the other side. And there you can see how high we are above the pit lane complex on the left-hand side there. And then we start the descent down again through the right-hander of turn 14. The track falling away, and then all the way through this very quick final corner. Let's have a listen. Little lift over the curbs and out onto the start-finish straight. Great stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got fresh tyres in qualifying, that's going to be flat out. But coming to the end of your run, the tyres are probably at the point where they just don't really fancy being thrown into the corner and having to give up grip, which is what would probably end up being the case. But the Bentley is now within, well, it's 1.2 seconds. That's what it was a lap ago. So he's not made on this last lap. Yeah, you can see, in fact, he's lost 0.126 of a second. So all the work that Vincent Abril has done, now that he's getting closer to the tail of the Ferrari, it's sort of stopped that progress, certainly on this last lap.
Down towards the hairpin, on board with the 84 Bentley. As he picks up the curb on the inside line, runs it out nice and wide on the exit of 5. And taking a 1/10 of a second out of Seidler in the first sector. But a of course, it's a real ebb and flow around the whole of the lap. The different cars have different strengths as the Bentley then climbs up the hill through turn 8. Behind, Stefan Ortelli is lapping at a very similar pace as well, so Ortelli won't be closing in. Ortelli's being closed in about 3/10 of the lap by Nick Katzberg, but Katzberg is 10 seconds further back down the road after his various trials and tribulations today.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that's dominating this stage of the race is everybody's probably crying out for more grip. And the only car that seems to be enjoying grip, and in fact it's even now beginning to back off, is the leading car, Laurens Vanthoor, 8.7 seconds ahead of Marcus Winkelhock. And really for the first time in Laurens Vanthoor's stint, here we see the lead Audi, has he begun to relax or allow himself that little bit of comfort by maybe dropping off half a second or more a lap to consolidate. And there is the second place, Audi Winkelhock. I mean, this is Vanthoor's and Robin Freeland's race to lose, and I don't see anything like that occurring.
That safety car could be one of the biggest turning points of the season, you wonder, because at the time Maxi Buch had a 5-second lead. We've had the second BMW retire as well, so both Brazilian BMWs out of the race at their sort of home event as they put the lid on. And it was very funny talking to Attila Abreu, who's like, yeah, I go up to someone, you know, in the shop or in a restaurant, and I start speaking English to them, and then I realise, oh, hang on, I'm in Portugal. I'm so used to racing in Europe that I naturally talk to people in English. As the 71 car comes around, Marco Asma, who's caught up to the back of Craig Dolby, actually,
yes,
for 8th place.
He's run him down pretty quickly, and I think Craig Dolby's going to have to be very careful that Marco Asma is not going to put the Mercedes ahead. It looks like the Mercedes is carrying a little bit more speed. There's about 0.3 of a second difference on that last lap as they came across start-finish line, but he has got that momentum. And Craig Dolby had been running strongly after he took over the car from Sean Walkinshaw, but in the last 4 or 5 laps that pace has begun to, you know, drop away, and he's now falling back rather than maintaining his position, and it's into 8th place. He was ahead of Nicky Katzberg and Christopher Mies at one stage, and they've both gotten through. So Marco Asma will be hoping that he'll just put that little bit of pressure onto the Nissan, and that'll ease his passage forward.
The Estonian, former British Formula 3 champion a couple of years ago, 2007 I think it was, and he's trying to close down Craig Dolby in that big old Nissan as they climb up the hill and get on the brakes. And Asma it is who's leading the Pro-Am class ahead of the sister car of Christophe Bouchou. Nicky Katzberg has had a warning saying he must respect the track limits at the final corner. But after being very strict in qualifying about track limits, the drivers have kind of taken it on board, and we haven't had many issues over the course of the races. But let's keep an eye on this one, because the Mercedes SLS, which has been very strong here in the past, won a round of the FIA GT1 World Championship back in 2011 with 2012, wasn't it, with Nicky Pastorelli and Thomas Jaeger at the wheel. So the car suits this circuit and is trying to get 8th place away from Craig Dolby.
Yeah, you can see let's look and see. This is coming up to turn 14.
So keep an eye on Dolby.
Yeah, the back end of the car, you can see he's struggling for bite and takes a much wider. When he had no choice, he couldn't get the car turned in. If he had tried to be aggressive on the wheel, I think he could have lost the rear of the car completely, and that gave the run on the Mercedes. Coming out to the exit of 14, then now this is real time down into turn 5. The Mercedes clearly is quicker around most of the corners around the circuit. Where he has a problem is on 15, like we've seen throughout the weekend. You can get close to somebody, but if they've got that straight line advantage, the aero affects you in the middle of 15. You lose that run you've had, and then it's a struggle all the way around the circuit.
Abrilla's closed in a little more on the back of Norbert Siedler. That's Marco Seefried, the teammate of Siedler in that 333 Rinaldi Ferrari. Here we go on board with it, and it's come down to just a smidgen under a second now. So the smallest mistake from the Ferrari 458, and the Bentley will be there ready to pounce as they come out over the start-finish straight again. What is the gap going to be? It's a 0.6 of a second now, so closer still goes Vincent Abril down into turn 1. Meanwhile, Marco Asma still pushing Craig Dolby for 8th position, and he's so close to the back of the Nissan, almost touching, gets a good drive out of the corner, but the final corner at 15, not really an overtaking opportunity, and has to slot in behind the Nissan, and in fact loses out quite a bit to the Nissan as they come out onto the back straight. So 4 minutes to go for Dolby to hold on.
Yeah, it was just literally way quicker out of turn 14, right under the rear wing, and of course that's taking air away from the front of the Mercedes. And there is the battle now for the final podium position, and this is getting real because the Bentley has actually run down. It's now probably less than going into turn 5, half a second. So Marco Seefried has got his mirrors filled with the Bentley Continental GT3, and it's going to be more a battle of these two cars through again. Final turn, turn 15, and the run down into turn 1. So Vincent Abril, who's not shy of using his elbows to make up positions, and again using different parts of the racetrack to try and effect a good exit out of 11 and try and pick up momentum through this compression up the hill, running different lines in some of these corners to the Ferrari. So into 13, nothing really you can do in 13. It's about getting your car positioned correctly for the penultimate corner, turn 14. The camber folds away. It's one of those corners where if you've got an understeering car, it's a real pain. But the Bentley looks well balanced. The Ferrari looks pretty well balanced as well. But it's here that Abril has got to get really do his good work, his best work, and try and get the run and the momentum with the Bentley and slot up under the rear wing and then slip out just under brakes, and he's going to have a snip. Not close enough, not this time.
But the gap has come down again to less than half a second now, 0.468 seconds as they come across the line that time through. Abril quicker in the first and final sectors, the Ferrari slightly quicker in the middle sector. But look how close Vincent Abril is now as he comes up through the left-hander of turn 4, crests the hill and starts the charge down towards 5. This is the view back from the Ferrari. Onto the brakes in the drop down. Abril shows his nose. And then it always looks as though the car behind is taking more of the apex, but that's because the camera's in the middle of the Ferrari, so you're kind of losing the perception of exactly where the extremities of either side of the Ferrari are. 2 minutes left. Vanthoor is out there on track, so I think he will be starting his... I think this might be the penultimate lap, actually. Yes, this will be the penultimate lap that they're on now. So after this, it's one more to go. As John heads down to the pits to speak to the winning drivers. He'll probably miss all the fun again, like yesterday. As we have 1 minute and 40 seconds left on the clock. So yes, Laurens Vanthoor about to start his final lap of this race. It'll be a 32-lap race. And the Bentley's just dropped back a little, hasn't he? Although the Ferrari struggling to hook up the apex there. Here comes Vanthoor onto the final lap. Commanding drive from Vanthoor after he and WRT managed to take the lead. But what a different story it would have been if we hadn't had the safety car. There in second place is the number 6 Phoenix Audi of Marcus Finkelhock. Still got some damage on the rear left of that car from contact early on. But great to see a strong weekend for the 6 Phoenix Audi. Their first real strong weekend of the season, I think it's fair to say. But look how close Vincent Abril is now. Coming down, all things about a look. Not quite close enough. That could compromise him, in fact, for the remainder of the lap. He's got to be clever about this, but there's not really many overtaking opportunities still to come. Down into the hairpin of 5. And it looks as though he's kind of just managed to gap it a little bit. The battle for 8th place is still on. The 3 cars battling over 8th are covered by just 2 seconds. But it's more about this final podium position battle that is going to be the one to watch. Up the hill. I can't see anywhere that Vincent Abril can close in and pass the Ferrari. There's not too far to go. Meanwhile, Laurens Vanthoor is up at the front. Didn't get the best of starts, he and Robin Freins. They lost out to the Bentley. The Bentley took off, rocketed away in the lead of the race, but then we had the safety car. WRT had a fantastic pit stop. Bentley's was a little slower. They got held up on the way into the pits, and they stalled the car on the restart. And since then, Laurens Vanthoor has shown why he's one of the best drivers in GT racing at the moment, because he comes across the line to win round 5 of the Blancpain Sprint Series here in Algarve, and they extend their championship lead Second across the line is going to be Marcus Winkelhock and Nicky Meyer-Melnoff. Great performance from them, their best result of the season so far. Across the line now comes Marco Seefried and Norbert Siedler. They hold on in the 333 Rinaldi Ferrari for third place. Nothing Vincent Abril can do, and as a result, the gap at the top of the championship will be around 25 points. That might even be Nicky Meyer-Melnoff's best ever Blancpain result, actually. I'll have to look into that one through the old record books. It's 5th across the line for Ortelli, 6th for Nicky Katzberg, and 7th for Christopher Mies. As they come around the final corner, here comes Craig Dolby to cross the line and hold on to that 8th position. It's the Pro-Am win for Marco Asma and his teammate Alexei Vasiliev. So victory for Laurens Vanthoor. The 4 cars still going. Frank Stippler, after their tricky day to forget, after James Nash came into the pits a little bit prematurely. But whether he was told to do that or what, not 100% sure. But there was so much frustration for the HTP Bentley crew because they had the pace, they had the lead, but it didn't work out in the end. As they come around now. To return to the pit lane. Laurens Vanthoor and Robin Freins. Wins at Brands Hatch and Zolder. They dominated both of the weekends at Brands Hatch and Zolder. And now they've finally managed to get a victory here in Algarve. So let's have a look at the results after 32 laps of racing. It's a commanding victory for Robin Freins and Laurens Vanthoor. Second place for Nicky Meyer-Melnoff and Marcus Winkelhock. It's third for Marco Seefried and Norbert Siedler. And then in 4th position, you've got Maximilian Buch and Vincent Abril. 5th place across the line with Stefan Riquelme and Stéphane Ortelli. So Freins and Vanthoor taking control of the championship with their rivals down in 4th spot. Albert von Turn and Taxis and Nicky Katzberg, good drive, especially from Katzberg, to climb up to 6th after they lost time in the pits. Enzo Eid and Christopher Mies 7th. Walkinshaw and Dolby manage an 8th place finish, having started at the back of the field. 9th place for Alexei Vasiliev and Marco Asma, winning the Pro-Am class. Alexei Kadachev and Christophe Bouchy behind. 11th place for the ISR car of Salaquada and Bononomi, who also lost time in the pits, as did the number 4 car of James Nash and Frank Stippler. Well, they lost time because they came in twice. Then 13th place and 14th place for the 2 retirements, the Brazilian BMWs, and we also lost the 83 Bentley in the opening stages after picking up some form of damage from Max van Splinteren. So back into the pit lane, and they can't actually open the door because of the damage. Oh yeah, that'll do it, Nicky. But there is a 2nd place finish for Marcus Winkelhock and Nicky Meyer-Melnoff. Delight for them. And a high five from the Ferrari guys. There are Robin Freins and Laurens Vanthoor, though, the winners. And what delight for them. I believe that's Meyer-Melnoff and Winkelhock's best result of their partnership together. Maybe John will ask them, but I don't think they've won either a qualifying race or a main race, so 2nd position is at least their joint best result, which they'll be very happy about. So let's hear from Laurens Vanthoor and Robin Freins. They are down and they are extending their championship lead. John.
Laurens Vanthoor, congratulations. If you're going to win one of the 2 races, the points race has got to be their one.
Yeah, it's the most important one, and I'm really happy because, like I said, we thought Bentley would be the strongest here of the remaining races, and we actually won there. I think we got a good amount of points on them. And to be honest, I said to Vincent Vos on the radio, let's give all the prize money to the mechanics, because the pit stops they did was just amazing. I don't know how they do it, but it was really impressive.
Robin, Laurent didn't have any pressure from the Bentley, but you did at the start. It just simply the grunt of the Bentley, you couldn't do anything about that.
Yeah, I had a really good start. I almost got him before the first corner, but then the speed of the Bentley, I couldn't do anything about it. At the end, I think the book had new tires and I used one, so he just pulled away quite easy. And I was struggling a bit with the pace. But I think at the end it wasn't so bad. And with the pit stop, or with the safety car, we decided to pit. And as Laurent already said, the boys did a very good pit stop, and that's how we won the race.
Well, that was a good choice to come in at that particular time. You got a clear pit, you got in and out, and got the lead.
Yeah, that's how we, well, there's a bit of luck with the safety car though, but it's been a good race for us, yes.
Good. Laurent, yesterday I asked you, I didn't think you were the real Laurent Vanthoor, but today you are. What was going on yesterday?
You didn't know I have a twin brother? No, yesterday I wasn't happy with myself, to be honest. In the beginning of the season, Robin came and I tried to learn stuff from GT, but actually this weekend he learned me stuff and he helped me improve my pace. And I worked a lot this morning and yesterday evening with my engineer Adam to work where I was losing time and what I was not doing right. And all the work seemed to be paying off.
So that month holiday in the United States of America had nothing to do with it whatsoever?
Maybe a bit too much burgers, but they're gone now.
Well done.
Great to hear from Laurens Vanthoor and Robin Freins. Then victors. There's the third place pairing of Seidler and Seefried. Having a chat to Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, who I think is being summoned because we're going to hear from our second place men. It's their first ever second place in a main race. They've had, well, let's hear from them now. Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, Marcus Winkelhock with John.
Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, Marcus Winkelhock, second place. You happy with that, Marcus?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy. I think yesterday third on the podium, today second. It's almost a perfect weekend for us, so I'm absolutely happy. The team did a good job today. The pit stops, they were really great, and we gained one position in the pit stops. And then when I came out, I was for 1 or 2 laps. I was a bit struggling because the tire pressure was a bit low, but then the car was really good. So and Laurens was too far away, so I didn't go any risk, and I just thought, okay, I go for a safe second place.
Nicky, you started the race, and Marcus told me before the race you're going to be calm, collected. And there you are, side by side with the 333 Ferrari going into turns 1 and 2. What happened?
I need to show him where to go, what the way was to go was the inside, and he tried to attack, so I had to show him a little bit maybe where I wanted to be. I wanted to be in front of him, and I managed to do that. Then I did a tiny mistake out of 14, and then he went past me again. It almost felt like he had a push to pass somewhere, which I didn't, and I tried to follow him, and then we were a little bit lucky with the safety car at the end of my stint, and amazing pit stop, and we managed to get ahead, and fantastic race. He finished it, and we managed to pull away, and we're really happy. 3 and 2 in this weekend with our new sponsor, ASAK, which we're really happy about, and amazing weekend for us. Back on the podium 2 times.
Do you realise that actually you were one of the 2 cars that went over the metal grid and the inside of turn 2? That eventually was the reason for the safety car. I'm not saying it was your fault, but it was one of your car, your right rear wheel went over it.
That's it's all a big plan at the beginning of the weekend, so it all turned out well how we planned it.
Okay, you guys get down to the beach and enjoy yourselves.
Thank you.
So yes, it's a second place result for the first time in a main race. They were second in both Nogaro in 2013 and 2014, and this is their first main race podium. Let's hear from our third place drivers, Seidler and Seefried.
Norbert, good to see you in the Ferrari on the podium. At one point we thought you might have had a second place, a real shot at second place, but what happened?
No, it was third is fine for us. If we thought if we would have been third after free practice, it would have been great for us. The Audis were a bit too quick here, especially in the corners. On the straight we were good, but on the corners we didn't have a chance at all. But yeah, we are happy. Thank you to the team. Marco did a great job, and yes, continue it in Misano.
Good. Marco, going into turn 1, it was very tight with you and Nicky Meyer-Melnhof in the Audi, and we just thought, well, hopefully they're going to get through the corner. You both did, and both had a good race.
Yeah, I think there was no purpose. It was just tight racing, and there was a small contact, but I think with no further issues of the car handling, and that was, I think, still fair. And yeah, we just had a chat about it, and it's fine. But throughout the weekend, we started difficult because, as many could see in the free practice, we were not really up the list, and we had also a real difficult car to drive this weekend. Maybe some of you have seen on the onboard, we were really struggling, and so at the end we were really, really happy about that third place podium finish. And yeah, we're looking very much forward to Misano, home country of Ferrari, so maybe we can do at least one better.
Undoubtedly, and well done to see you on the podium. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So there are the drivers gathering at the back of the podium, and you certainly could see the Ferrari was horrible in free practice and even in qualifying as well. It looked appalling to drive, but they managed to sort it out. There's the 4 Audi drivers there at the back of the pack, out the back of the podium, I should say. So here's how the points look now. Robin Freins and Laurens van Thor have 109 points. Vincent Abril and Maximilian Buch in the Bentley team have 83. So that means that the gap between them is now 26 points between Robin Freins and Laurens van Thor and Vincent Abril and Maximilian Buch at the top of the championship. There's 33 points available every weekend, so we've still got 66 points up for grabs, but Freins and Van Thor have really put their stamp on the championship. Ortelli and Riquelme up to third in the standings. Abreu and Bardeno Brito dropping down. There you can see Albert von Taxis picking up some more points, so he's up to 10th place. Nicky Katzberg up into 12th position. Dolby and Walkinshaw pick up 4 points from their result today, and as a result they move up the standings a little bit as well. No more points for Jules Simkowiak after his retirement, and Marco Asma picks up his first 2 points of the championship season. So Laurens van Thor and Robin Freins are about to head onto the podium as race winners in Portimao. After you, after you. But it's Laurens van Thor and Robin Freins who take victory. Onto the top step of the podium yet again. Their 5th visit to the top step so far this season. Second place for Markus Winkelhock and Nicky Meermanhoff. Their best result in a main race and their joint best result overall in Blancpain. Norbert Siedler and Marco Seefried with a 3rd place and another podium for them. That's their 4th podium of the season so far. So after this we'll have the team manager of WRT, or at least a representative from WRT, out onto the podium to receive the team's trophy. Now, as far as Silver Cup is concerned, I don't think we're going to see Max van Splunteren out there because they didn't finish the race. So it's just the Pro-Am winners, Marco Asma and Alexei Vasiliev, who head out there. And the team manager of the GT Russian squad will join them on the podium as well after their victory in the Pro-Am class. But it's the top step of the podium for Laurens van Thor and Robin Freins for the Belgian Audi Club. So the Belgian national anthem for the Belgian Audi Club on the top step of the podium. And a superb drive from Robin Freins and Laurens van Thor. And there are the winning trophies for Van Thor and Freins. Yet more for Laurens van Thor and Robin Freins' collection. And I wonder if I'm going to have to think about the last time Robin Freins did a full season and didn't win the championship. It's Isilda Gomas, the mayor of the city of Portimao, who hands out the trophies. And Nicky Meyer-Melnoff giving his Portuguese a little bit of a practice. Second place for Winkelhock and Meyer-Melnoff. They're delighted with that. As well they might be. It was a good drive from Nicky in that opening stint. Did exactly what he was asked. And Marco Seefried and Norbert Siedler completing the podium.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that Marco in fact drew attention to the fact that our next round of the Sprint Championship is in Misano in Italy, where you're only about 150 kilometres down the road from Maranello. You might like to think we'll see a really serious Ferrari effort at that particular weekend.
Yep, absolutely. There's the Pro-Am trophies from Paolo Pinheiro, the CEO of the Autodromo Algarve, and it's Marco Asmer and Alexei Vasiliev who take those. And that'll be interesting as far as the Pro-Am title is concerned, because at the moment it's Alexei Karachev who's leading that title, but two good performances from Vasiliev means he may well be in contention. The trophies are held aloft then on the top step. A superb performance from all of these guys. And now here's Stefan Rattel, the boss of the Stefan Rattel organisation, who organised the Blancpain Series, and he's handing out the prize money checks. 30,000 euros for the winners, 20,000 for second place, 10,000 euros for third place, and for the winners of the Pro-Am Cup. And Nicky Meyer-Melnoff, he's happy with that check, isn't he?
That doesn't really matter. Nicky's a wealthy man, but it's more, as he said, it's for the guys that do all the hard work.
Yep.
You're behind the scenes, and that'll no doubt be passed on to them. They'll have a great weekend, or what's left of it, here in Portugal, and then look forward. They'll be at Nürburgring for the final round of Blancpain Enduro in 2 weeks' time, and then 2 weeks beyond that, then down to Misano, virtually on the Adriatic coast of Italy.
So the champagne is sprayed on the podium. Nicky Meyer-Melnoff and Marcus Winkelhock getting stuck in, but it's victory for Robin Freins and Laurens van Thor. They win in Algarve and extend their championship lead at the top of the Blancpain Sprint Series with just 2 races to go. The next of them is at Misano. After that, Zandvoort.
Yeah, but I'm looking.
Then the season's over.
Misano we've never been to before. I'm really looking forward to it. A circuit that clearly some of the entrants will have local knowledge from local GT events, but by and large, it will be a new circuit to Audi, to BMW, to BMW,
and for
to
me,
Bentley, for me also.
Have you not been to Misano ever?
Never been to Misano. It's been there, 30-odd years, and it's hosted Formula 2, 3000, everything. Motorcycling, the Italian Grand Prix frequently is held on the Misano circuit. So it will be an interesting experience, and of course, in the beginning of October, probably not going to be quite as pleasant as it is here right now. But nevertheless, going to Italy for a motor race for me is always one of the high points of the season.
Absolutely. Can't wait to get going to that one in a couple of weeks' time, the first weekend of October. There is Robin Freins, who has performed very strongly this weekend, and he is heading back to the press conference, which is very conveniently located just in there. So that's a job done. They've already arrived at the press conference.
It's interesting just as you go through the results.
Yeah, it's the number 1 car that takes the victory, Robin Freins and Laurens van Thor. 8.6 seconds clear in the end of Meyer-Melnoff and Winkelhock. Third place for the 333, Rinaldi, Ferrari, Marco Seefried and Norbert Siedler, their 4th podium of the season so far. Maxi Buch and Vincent Abril were leading this race by 5 seconds with about 25 minutes on the clock, and then it all went pear-shaped for them. Riccardo Nortelli, good drive actually, from 15th on the grid to finish in 5th position. Albert von Taxis and Nicky Katzberg as well did a good job, but a slow pit stop and then a spin put halt to them having any further charge up the order. Enzo Ede and Christopher Meeson, the car that qualified on pole position, finishes the weekend down in 7th place with Walkinshaw and Dolby in 8th. Alexei Vasiliev and Marco Asmer winning in Pro-Am ahead of Karachev and Bouchou. Salaquada and Bononomi, we believe, had pit stop troubles, and that put an end to their good run. Attila Abreu and Valdeno Brito now pretty much out of championship contention. Bueno and Jimenez in 14th place. Max van Spruntelen and Jules Stimkowiak eliminated in the opening laps. And so as far as that championship is concerned, Robin Freins and Laurens van Thor now 26 points clear at the top of the championship over Abril and Buch. with Ortelli and Raquelme in third. Brew and Brito now you can see well down, what's that, 50 points off the lead with only 66 available. So I think they are pretty much out of the title fight and are going to lose that fourth place if they're not careful to Marco Seefried and Norbert Siedler. Winkelhock and Meyer Melnoff are now up into the top 6. Further down, Enzo Ede and Christopher Mies picked up a couple of points, but nothing anywhere near the kind that they wanted. Max Martin and Dirk Muller, after their stunning weekend in Nogaro, are still there in 9th place in the championship ahead of Albert von Turn Taxis. Bueno and Jimenez down in 11th position. Nick Katzberg climbs up to 12th in the standings. Dolby and Walkinshaw up into 14th place after picking up 4 points here today. James Nash and Frank Stippler, weekend to forget for them, and they remain in 15th place in the standings. Bononomi and Salaquad didn't pick any points today either. And there you can see Marco Asma down in 24th position. And Maxwell Splinter in there as well, not picking up any points today after his retirement earlier on. So, a very entertaining race here in the Algarve. The next one's going to be in Misano in a couple of weeks' time, the first weekend of October. But before we go there, let's have a look back at the very entertaining race here in the Algarve. So, the Algarve circuit on the southern tip of Portugal played host to round 5 of the Blancpain Sprint Series. The main race due to get underway. Stefan Rattel having a little chat with Antonio Herman there. But on pole position, it was the 84 Bentley of Maximilian Buch and Vincent Abril. And at the start, Abril didn't get the best getaway, but Buch didn't get the best getaway, but the power of the Bentley got him the lead, John.
Yes, it was a good start by Robin Freins in the Audi on the right of screen. But again, that mid-range punch of the Bentley was sufficient just to get its nose into the front, going down into turn 1. I mean, a big squeeze coming from the Audi from left to right, virtual contact, and also watch the Ferrari in the outside coming in, but then we see the Audi of Nicky Meyer Melnhoff squeezing his way through and taking that third place. A little bit of hip and shoulder, but nothing of any consequence. Certainly no complaints from Marcus Seefried.
This was the view on board with the Bentley. You see the Audi get the best start, pull past, and then the Bentley hauls himself back in, and it's so close to see. I think there was the tiniest of touches there on the run down, but it was side by side, so not too much damage. And the Bentley then began to pull clear, and it looked all under control for Maxi Buch.
Yeah, I mean, Robin Freins summed it up when we were doing the Park Ferme interviews, was that Max Buch was on a fresh set of rubber, a new set of rubber, and then Freins was on a set that had done some laps, and that does give you an initial advantage, and Max Buch was able to open up about a 4+ second advantage over the second place Audi, up until the point where we then had the intervention, the safety car intervention for a part of the circuit that needed attention, notably a grille that is a part of the drainage system on the inside of turn 2. It got dislocated and it had to be repositioned.
Still looking at the start here, and this was the view on board the Ferrari, and there you can see the bit of contact it had with Nicky Meyer Melnhoff. It was Marco Seefried at the wheel as they're all bunched up into turn 3. And that was a good start from Albert von Turn Taxis. Did well to hold his ground there. Lost out to the ISR Audi, but then I think managed to hold the inside line going down into the hairpin and keep that place. Keep an eye on the right-hand side there. Well, he was still there or thereabouts, Albert von Turn Taxis, as they made their way then up the hill and through 7 and 8. Then we had some great battles here with Enzo Ede and Sean Walkinshaw. Walkinshaw making the move, and he gained a position past Enzo Ede, and then we had James Nash come into the pits a lap too early. Frank Stippler said, you've got to go out and get going again. We had the safety car out, then the safety car came in. Everyone decided to come in except the Bentley, which didn't seem like a bad idea, but ultimately was kind of what cost him the race.
It was really two things. It got caught behind one of the BMWs coming into the pit, not the pit lane itself, but the entry into the pit lane rather lethargically, and that cost a couple of seconds. And then when Vincent Abril got into the car and made his maneuver to get back out onto the pit lane, onto the racetrack, the engine sort of coughed and hesitated. That cost a further couple of seconds. And once those 4 seconds had been lost, the good work done by the WRT, the number 1 Audi, was sufficient to give Laurens van Thor, a very back-on-form Laurens van Thor, the lead, and which he never was to relinquish.
Nicky Katzberg was sent spinning by Valdena Brito, and they would then later be given a drive-through penalty. This was the view on board with Katzberg as he got spun around coming up towards turn 11. And he would end up in that same position anyway, so there wasn't too much drama there. You can see the 77 BMW getting sent back into the pits for a drive-through penalty. The 333 Rinaldi Ferrari was up into third place after the pit stop of the 84 Bentley. The Bentley pushed hard, but ultimately couldn't get through, and despite closing in and getting very close at times, there was just nothing they could quite do about that Ferrari in front.
I think it's a classic case if you find yourself out of position for whatever reason, as opposed to finding yourself in the lead. It's easy to consolidate the lead. You could be lapping at the same speed potentially as the race leader, but not able to make any headway. So that was, I think, very much a case of Bentley. It was a race that the entry to the pit lane and, of course, then that difficult restart, they would have undoubtedly been in the podium. They may have been second. It's questionable whether they would have gotten ahead of the second place Winkelhock, Meyer Meldenhoff Audi, but certainly on the podium.
So it was race victory for Laurens Vanthoor and Robin Frans. There you can see second place Nicky Meyer-Meldenhoff and Marcus Fingerlock, with the Ferrari completing the podium, and only fourth place for the Bentley of Maximilian Buch and Vincent Abril. But it's the victory for Laurens Vanthoor and Robin Frans here in the Algarve. Wonderful performance from them, and they extend their lead now at the top of the championship after winning in Portugal.